5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to the Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, March the 1st, 2025. Good to see each and every one of you on board. And I'm reporting live today from my house. Gonna have a lot to talk about today, a lot of things to celebrate. David Gomez is ready, as well as Too Easy, who counted all the way from 5 down to 1 for me. Thank you so much. And yes, we will hopefully have some reasons for celebration today, David. Thank you very much. If you happen to be one of the 8 people or so on board, please go ahead and click the like button. I would appreciate it. That'll drive more people to come in here. Pardon me. If you could just put a comment letting me know you can hear me loud and clear, I would appreciate that. But let's go ahead and dive in, starting as is tradition with the Dugroz data points. This is any information in the worlds of points, miles, cashback, etc., that has caught my attention this particular week, and we'll talk about those. First up, we have a Capital One thing. Baseball fans, Capital One is back and has great seats for 5,000 miles each. Hat tip to Frequent Miler. Some of these are from Frequent Miler. Some of them are from Doctor of Credit. You can buy really good baseball seats in major league stadiums for 5,000 miles each. There's only 4 of these really good seats. Check out the Frequent Miler article. They'll give you instructions on how to find them if that's your kind of thing. March and April have all their dates added, it appears. I did some poking around. I saw some availability with the Kansas City Royals. I also checked on the Chicago Cubs and looked at the first 5 days. Those are all already taken, so I suppose it depends on the overall popularity in terms of what is available and what is not available. Ian Mascal is here. Good to see you, Ian. Shadow Frost. I can't remember if we've met before, Shadow Frost. Super good to see you on board. Catch 631 says, popping in to say hi before running errands. Hi, Catch. Thank you. Catch the replay. No problem. I know a lot of you watch the replay. And if you are watching this on replay, just put a comment that says, I usually watch in my car. I watch on Monday morning or whatever. Mike from LA says, morning. And TH says, right on time today. I tried. I don't always nail it, but today I did. All right, next Dugroz data point here. We have, today is rent day. Today is March the 1st, and you probably already know this, a Hilton bonus of somewhere between 150 and 200%. If that's something you want to take advantage of, I've heard a lot of people say like, this one's not that exciting, and maybe it's not that exciting. I don't even have enough built points to make a difference. I've only got like a little over 1,000, and I think if you're not a blue member or a whatever member, you have to have at least 2,000 to do any sort of transference. But don't forget to play the game or do whatever you need to do today. Let's see. Luke says, I'm listening in the car. That's awesome. Thanks for listening in, Luke. Don't look at the screen, though, if you're driving. Tom Graber says, hey, I'm able to catch this in real time today. Very cool. And hey, look at that. Tom Graber right away gives us reason for celebration. A $5 super chat. Thank you, Tom. Celebrate. That's awesome. And that little squiggly symbol next to Tom's name indicates that he is a big time diehard. Luke says my local Staples is closing. Oh, bummer. Those $200 fee-free gift cards are going to be harder and harder to come by. Sorry to hear that, Luke. Maybe you're on the way right now to buy some. Let's get into the next data point here. Hey, Luke, set the stage perfectly. Staples has a no purchase fee on $200 gift cards starting tomorrow, which is Sunday the 2nd through March 8th. Now, this deal happens all the time, so it's not necessarily unique that it's happening. It's a little unique that I'm showing it. I only brought it up because I will from time to time talk about how I get good use out of Chase and the Chase Inc. Cash. And, you can at least once a month generally go to Staples and buy gift cards just to prove that you can actually do it. Wanted to take a second to actually show that. 31 people on board here. Thank you so much for being on board. Go and click the thumbs up button if you've not done so yet. If you're not a member of this channel, excuse me, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. I need to give a little word of what's going on here. So you might notice that the background and stuff looks a little bit different. There are two things that have changed. One is I've got a new cabinet in the background. I'll move for just a second so you can see it. All right, this cabinet that the record player and the plant are sitting on, that's new. My wife helped me pick that out. Let's be honest, she picked it out and bought it and did everything. But it matches the tall thing with the globe on top. Also, you'll notice the frame is a little bigger. You can see a little more of me than usual. My external webcam stopped working this week during my normal 9-to-5 job. Thankfully, it stopped working then and not like during my live stream. So I didn't have time to buy a new external webcam. So I actually have my MacBook on a little wooden stool that I made when my boys were little so they could reach books on the top shelves and stuff, and have the lid open, which I don't normally have. So you might notice me today, like if I'm looking here, that's the screen where I see my picture, but I have a separate monitor over here with all my data points and presentation items. So if I keep looking off to the side, that's why. It's not that I don't like you guys. Now, I think it actually looks better, frankly, because you can see more of me. Let me know if you like the setup, if it looks okay. But it's not as convenient because normally I work with my laptop lid closed and just work off of an external monitor, or in the case of my job, 2 external monitors. But it actually looks better, even though it's a lot less convenient. So maybe I'll stick with it. If you have an opinion, feel free to share. TM Cowling says maybe Luke can get his staples to sell him more than the limit. Who knows? And Chad Pennycuff is here. Howdy, y'all. Dugroz diehard extraordinaire. That little funny symbol next to his name. Let's talk about that just a little more. So a Dugroz diehard is someone who is a channel member. It's my one and only channel membership. It's only $3 a month, and you can cancel anytime. I do have over 35, I think it's 36 or 37 members only videos, and that's where the juicy stuff is. So you could, in theory, become a member for just a month and then watch all the videos and then bail out. I wouldn't regret it if you did, but hey, that's a great way to support me. So feel free to become a channel member. If you become a channel member while the live stream's going, a little green box will pop up telling everyone that you just became a channel member. And not only do you get those members only videos, but I also release most of my videos a day early if you're a member. And then every once in a while, I just have a random members only live stream like I did last night. Now, admittedly, there was nothing too juicy. It was just testing my equipment and saying hi. There's a little juice now and then. If you want to speak to the juiciness, diehards, by all means, feel free to do so. Luke says the closing Staples has no gift cards. Womp, womp, womp. Oh, sorry, Luke. That's probably why they're closing then. Maybe they went out of business because of the gift cards. If I'm too loud or too soft, please let me know. I had to change a few settings when I moved my desk around. Gonna blow my nose here. All right, well, let's get into some content so people that come on board are able to see some points and miles content. We already talked about the Staples deal. What do we have next for a data point here? Oh, yes, this one is a touch juicy. This is my Citi thank you points. So I actually, I didn't close out, but I redeemed all of my Citi thank you points recently, cashed them out. And it's a penny per point, but I do have the rewards plus card, so I get an extra 10%. So it'd be like 1.1 cents per point. Before doing that, I sent some points over to Wyndham, just like a 4,000 point bump up. I sent 1,000 points over to Flying Blue because that'll just prevent them from expiring. There were no transfer bonuses in that case. So I am now down to basically 0 thank you points, other than I will have that 10% pending and need to cancel, close that out. This is because I'm thinking about leaving the Citi ecosystem. Haven't left them yet, but I've just positioned myself. If I need to do that, I now have no thank you points on hand. And part of the rationale there is Frequent Miler has told me that even though you pool your Citi points together, behind the scenes, it's actually a situation where the points are tied to a specific card. So let's say I canceled my Strata Premier, but kept my other two cards open. I might lose some points because I didn't know which currency they were tied to. Brady Smith is on board. What's up, Dugroz? Good to finally catch a live one. Currently on my way to Caraco, a day late thanks to American. Oh, sorry about that, Brady. It was good to see you at the Hyatt Centric down in New Orleans. Good to catch up with you here too. Hope you have a good time in Caraco. Now, is that I want to say Caracas, Venezuela, but that's not quite right. Tell me what country that's in. I apologize. Chad Pennycuff says, "Bye, City." There's that meme out there with the guy in the cowboy hat that says, "Well, bye." I don't know what that's from. If you know, let me know. All right, next data point here. The best ever Capital One Venture Rewards card offer. Now, this is targeted. So if you can find a refer a friend link to the Capital One Venture, not the no annual fee Venture One, not the great big dog, the Venture X. We're talking the Venture card, that awkward $99 annual fee middle ground. And my understanding is you can only generate a refer a friend offer from the exact card. So for example, I would not be able to use my Venture One or my Venture X to generate a referral to this card, but go out and look on Frequent Miler's Facebook page. They have several. You might be targeted for 100K instead of 75K. It's more like Amex now, where it's like maybe try an incognito window, try a different browser, see what comes up. But for a $99 annual fee card, that's very good. You can always downgrade to the no annual fee after year one. You may or may not be able to upgrade to the Venture X after year one. Capital One is confusing and hard to figure out, but just that's worth doing. I'm a big fan of sign up bonuses. So even if it's just a one and done, that might be worth it. Brady clarifies Caraco is right next to Aruba. It's a Dutch island. Ah, okay. My bad, but thank you for correcting me. Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take you to Caraco, Balaco. Oh, that's not quite how it goes, but who knows what song I'm referencing? Raise your hand. Hey, look, John R. has arrived and comes in strong with a 200 penny super chat. I almost said $200. A $2 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you, John. Steady as always. I appreciate your faithfulness. 45 people on board. Thumbs up. All right, keep going with the Dugroz data points here. This one's a little not old. It's about a week old. Doctor of Credit hat tip says the Barclays 70,000 Hawaiian Airlines bonus $99 annual fee card is back. There are some people that have a link that only requires one purchase. Some people that have a need to spend $1,000 to get it. But, as long as we still have this backdoor pipeline to Alaska going, that seems like a pretty good offer. Have any of you taken the Amex to Hawaii to Alaska pipeline since February 1st? I've heard some people have different levels of success with that, so any additional data points might be helpful. Chad Pennycuff knows I'm singing Kokomo by the Beach Boys. Luke says, check the pronunciation on that island, Doug. Well, is it Curacao? I apologize. I don't really know, but thank you for tipping me off. Kevin Hawthorne is here. Good morning from Lakeland, Florida. As always, good to see you, Kevin. Thank you. Next data point is, I mentioned this as a community post earlier this week. My wife made a purchase in person at Walmart with her relatively new Aeroplan card issued by Chase, and it coded as grocery. So she got 3x on that. That's kind of exciting. I'd rather have it be a transferable currency like Chase points, but it's nice to know there is a way to get 3x at Walmart, and it's in-person purchases with your Aeroplan card. Now, I will clarify this is only in person. It does not work if you decide to do a Walmart online grocery order, unfortunately. Double Double Animal Fries says this is related to the Amex Hawaiian Alaska pipeline. Just did it a few days ago, Amex to Hawaii, Hawaii to Alaska. There were errors with Hawaii rejecting Amex transfers for a few days, and then it worked. Okay, good to know that it's back to working. I appreciate that. I asked Amex and Hawaiian for help. No one was helpful. Then it just worked after a few days. Seemed like a system glitch. Similar data points on Reddit. Just took a drink. If you're listening after the fact, can you hear me? I hit the mute button and then I messed something up, but I think I've recovered. The Platinum OG says, yeah, I've been running Amex to Hawaii to Alaska since January. I've racked up about 700,000 Alaska points. Well, that's really not too bad. Good to see you, Platinum OG. And Brady says, I was cringing when he read it. Let's just hope there's no one here blasting Fetty Wap on a JBL speaker. I don't know what any of that means, but sorry about my mispronunciation. I know here in Iowa, we've got a lot of towns with really unique and weird pronunciations, and that's how you can tell whether you're a local or not. For example, there's a town that looks like the name Sigourney, like Sigourney Weaver, but it's pronounced Sigourney. There's a town that looks like Madrid, the town in Spain, and it's pronounced Madrid. So I'm sure I messed up the name of that island. Is it Curacao? I think I've heard that before, not Caraco. Platinum OG says, and this is, again, we're talking about the Alaska points, mostly from Amex points, partially from player 1, 2, and 3 getting Hawaii cards. Hey, good to have a player 3. John can hear me 5x5. Luke thinks it's all funny with my bad pronunciations. That's fine. I can be a bad pronouncer. Doesn't bother me. Thumbs up for the homie. Yes, please do thumbs up for this particular homie. Uh-oh, my screen is not moving. Okay, I think it was just a temporary glitch. Okay, I now have the pronunciation right. Good to know. My bad, guys. My bad. All right, next data point. Let's go ahead and get to it here. Aeroplan family point sharing returns. Hey, that's on topic. We were just talking about Aeroplan. So I didn't see this until late last night after like 10 p.m. and my brain was kind of tired and sore. So I don't know the details on this, but it sounds like a good thing. Aeroplan bringing back family sharing. I know they took it away back in 2020. Boy, this would have been handy like 2 weeks ago when I booked that Lufthansa flight to get back from Austria, because I was wanting to use points from my wife's Amex stash and didn't have the option to. So I guess better late than never, but would have been nice if it was a little bit earlier. All right. Now, today is the first day of the month. And what kind of stuff happens on the first day of month? Transfer bonuses. So I did a little poking around. I didn't go to like Doctor of Credit or anything like that. This is just on my personal accounts. I did spot this one right here. So you know that terrible transfer bonus of 1,000 Capital One miles going over to 600 True Blue miles, or that's like a 5-to-3 ratio, was announced last month. It looks like as of today, March 1st, they did a transfer bonus where you get a 1-to-1, at least temporarily. Does anybody else notice my screen is starting to freeze here and there, or is that just the way it's displayed on my end? Hopefully this isn't a problem with using my non-built-in webcam. So yeah, if you have a good use case for flying Blue miles, there's nothing all that special about 1-to-1. I think, is it Citi is always 1-to-1 on flying Blue, but if you've got a stash of Capital One miles and a good use case, at least you can do that. Ian also points out today's the first day to start earning that American Airlines status again. Oh yeah, because they take their status year from March 1st through the last day of February. So good reminder. Thank you for that. And then I also poked around over here on Amex, and there are 2 transfer bonuses that I'm noticing. The first one is Hilton with a 25% bonus. It's normally 1-to-2. It's 1-to-2.5 right now, which I don't think is a terrible amount. I know some people will say things like, well, because you can normally buy Hilton at a half point each, that's really the equivalent of cashing out your Hilton points at 1.25 cents per point, which mathematically is true. But if you're in the situation that I'm in, and I'll talk about this more later. You've got a very specific redemption coming up, and you can do better with points than you would with cash. Might be worth doing. Depends on opportunity cost, whether you want to save your points for other things, a lot of things along those lines. And then also they have a bonus to Qatar going right now. Could say Qatar, so could say Qatar. This one might have already been in place. I'm not sure, but it's 1 to 1.2, and it's part of Avios. So as Matt Clausen says, an Avios is an Avios is an Avios. So you can use that on any of the Avios earning currencies. Speaking of Avios, Chase decided to go in hard with the Avios. So today you can do a 20% transfer bonus to Aer Lingus, British, and Iberia, all of their Avios earning currencies, or at least most of their Avios earning currencies. So Chase is going to let you do that. And then they've had this for a while, but it's still around for a few more days. Marriott Bonvoy with a 50% transfer bonus. Meh. Don't know that I'd really go in strong on that one, but it is there if you had a very specific use case. Chad reminds us that today is the first day for your Dunkin' Donuts $7 reload if you have the Amex Personal Gold. And Ian says, frick, I could have used that Qatar bonus last week. Yeah, it's sort of like me and the pooling of the Aeroplan miles. You know, sometimes it just works out that way. I'm really hoping there's another Aeroplan bonus between now and the statement period after my family gets back from Europe, because that'll really come in handy for my pay yourself back stuff. Next data point. This one's kind of weirdly specific to my family. So my mom has a Hilton card. It's the no annual fee card, the Hilton Honors card. Oh, there's my screen freezing again. When the screen freezes, does my audio keep going, or is the audio okay? Sorry about that. I don't know why that's happening. Maybe just they're doing maintenance work on the fiber optic cables in my neighborhood or something. So this is a screenshot from my mom's Hilton Honors card. And right down here, this last entry says CSIG Holdings, Brighton, Michigan. Sorry, snuck up on me. That is my mom's portion of their assisted living rent and fees, things like meals, utilities, etc. CSIG, I think it stands for Complete Sale Investment Group or something like that. Even though it's a local assisted living place, they are owned by a national company. And of course, it just codes as whatever. So I'm getting 3 points. She is getting 3 points per dollar on that. And I didn't put it off to the side, but for a long time, like up until 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, it didn't show any point earning at all. So there was no points here. When I clicked on it, didn't show me how many points she had earned or anything like that. So that was a little concerning. But just yesterday, it appeared and it earned 3x points. So and the Right Dose Pharmacy, that one had appeared and everything else. So sometimes it seems like Amex takes a while to decide what the category is and how many points it's going to earn. So maybe this can be an encouragement to someone. If you have any stories about Amex took forever to decide how many points I was going to earn, or if I was going to earn any points at all, let me know. But I guess they do usually, in the long run at least, show up. Let's see. John says the audio's been fine. That's good. Brighton, Michigan is where my parents live. Also, my favorite Meijer for Disney gift cards. Interesting. So I guess the company that owns the assisted living building is in Brighton, Michigan. It's weird. It's almost like the company that owns the building is one company, and the company that does the services, and I don't understand it. Clairvoyant is here. Hello, hello, hello. How you doing, Clairvoyant? Good to see you on board this morning. Hey, 56 people. Not too shabby. Give me a thumbs up. Almost done. We got 2 more data points, and these are a slightly more personal nature. Not personal, but they apply to me. So do you remember last Saturday in the live stream, I talked about why I was downgrading my Capital One Venture X. And if I really, really cut to the chase, the whole purpose was I'm thinking if I downgrade it now, the odds of me being able to either apply for or product change to a saver card is even more important. And then as an ancillary thing with that, what I wanted to do was product change my oldest credit card. I call him Carl. You can see up here, Carl, age 25. I opened him in the year 2000 to a Venture X, something more usable. I don't want to just hang out as a Venture One card forever. It's nice if your oldest card is usable. So no ability to product change to a saver yet. But part of my plan did come to fruition. In the past, I had only been able to product change to a Venture or a Quicksilver. But now that I downgraded my other card, Timmy, to a Venture One, I do have the option to upgrade Carl to a Venture X. So that'll be nice. I'm not going to do it right now. Probably later this year, my oldest card, my 25-year-old card, will be a Venture X. So that'll be kind of fun. I can, in a silly kind of lighthearted manner, when people say, oh, how long have you had the Venture X? Like, oh, I've had it for about 25 years. That'll be fun to tell people. Chad reminds us that there are 56 people on board, but only 19 likes. So please click like. It's free. It's easy. Clairvoyant also told me that American Express recently decided that my daily fantasy sports player won't count towards sub or even earn MRs anymore. Sorry about that. I know like gambling has been a thing, and I guess, at actual casinos, but apparently now online sports betting. Sorry about that, but good data point. Juan Garcia has arrived, a diehard. Thank you, Juan. And Too Easy says, do all your cards have nicknames? Haha. No, but if you watched last Saturday's live stream, I'm a fan of The Simpsons. So I named my oldest card Carl, and then I'm hoping that I can get another card, a saver, and I'll nickname him Lenny. So we'll have Carl and Lenny. All right. Last Dugroz data point here, a channel update. Want to give props. There are 2 people that have now crossed their 12-month threshold as a diehard. And I don't remember if I've mentioned these 2 or not, but hey, I'd rather duplicate than miss it. We have Mr. Robert J. is now a 12-month diehard, as well as John R., who I know is on board, is a 12-month diehard. So thank you to the 2 of you for a full year of consecutive channel membership. I appreciate that. Just to let you know, if you join as a diehard, then leave, then come back, it won't show it as consecutive. So that's why you might feel like you got missed out on in some way. John says, a year already? Geez, yeah, I did my first ever live stream. I think it was the day before Halloween in 2023. So I've been doing live streams for a year and 4 months, something like that. Ian Mascal says, dang, a ways to go. But he did pop up that he's been a member for 4 months, and we appreciate that. Chad Pennycuff says, my Carl is a Costco Visa that started its life as an Amex Costco card. Oh, did they? That's interesting. So, like, if they switch you from one bank to another bank, because I'm assuming it was something where somebody else took over the Costco card, you get to keep that credit history. That's fun. Glad to hear it. All right. 63 people are on board. Don't forget, if you want to give a super chat, you sure can. Anything you give supports the channel a little bit. I take 20% for my family budget, and everything else goes towards, a new webcam, lighting, zany adventures, a new phone, better camera. I don't know. Maybe I'll get some sort of really cool accessory, like what do they call those cameras you strap to your forehead? A GoPro? Is that what it's called? Or your motorcycle or whatever. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the theme of the day. The theme of the day today is all of my cards right now. So I'm going to take you down a trip here to, it's not quite memory lane. It's more like where things stand right now. Let's go with this view, so it's off to the side. So we're going to talk about every single credit card I have. No, that's not true. We're not going to talk about them, but I'm going to just show you every card that I have, and then we'll go over what I'm going to eliminate, what's new, what's coming in 2025. So this is my 2025 credit card roadmap here. Does that sound interesting? Let's dive in after I toot my horn. It's a nice day outside. I have a lot of sunlight coming in through my window, so that helps. All right, so this is what my folio looks like right now at present. And I'm going to point out to you anything that has changed since. Oh, I can't remove the StreamYard logo. So unfortunately, the top right is slightly covered. I have to pay if I want to do that. Anything that has changed since the start of this calendar year, let's go ahead and show you those changes. So one change is right here. My wife picked up an Amex Blue Business Cash. That is the one that gives 2% cash back automatically on every purchase. That's not the same as the one right below it, which is the Business Plus. And here's my Business Plus over here. So that's a different card. That was based on a NLL, no lifetime language offer. And I just wanted that in part because, hey, 2% cash back's not terrible, but more importantly, it has 0% APR for an entire year, and knew we had a few big purchases coming up that we wanted to kind of spread out. Do you ever do that? Do you spread out your purchases with 0% APR? And then, I've got like a side account I'll put money in. I have enough money to cover some, but not all of it. Obviously, the financial planning goal is make sure within the 12 months you have enough money to cover all of it, or you have to be reasonably certain, which I am reasonably certain. You'll see the Amex Business green over here. And if you saw my live stream from 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, I explained a little bit about that. That was my Amex Business Gold card, and I downgraded to not have to pay as big of an annual fee. So I got the prorated annual fee back, which was, I don't remember, in the high 200s, $295, $296, something like that. So I'm just going to keep this card for a while, and hopefully towards the latter part of this year, maybe late third quarter or early fourth quarter, I'll get an upgrade offer either to the Business Gold or the Business Platinum. If it is the Business Platinum, I might be able to take full advantage of that by doing the credits and stuff, sort of the sledge method, just with business cards, of playing upgrade and downgrades to my benefit. So I'm just going to use that card as a placeholder for upgrades and downgrades. Hey, we got 71 people on board. Oh, just dropped to 69. Great. Click thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Next is, I'm sorry, folks. Had my phone not on vibrate. Let's see. What did I have? Bring that back. Okay, you see a Business Unlimited there. Anything that has a pink border belongs to my wife. If it's the yellow gold border, that belongs to me. My wife picked up a Ink Business Unlimited fairly recently, and also a Chase Aeroplan card on the exact same day. So had 2 sign-up bonuses going on. We've already accomplished the minimum spend. Points are pending on the Ink Unlimited. Getting pretty close to meeting the minimum spend on the Aeroplan card. Got a few $100s to go on that. The Business Unlimited is pretty self-explanatory. 75,000 Chase points. I get 20,000 on the referral, so that's certainly not bad. A sweet 95,000 points. Even if we take it as cash, that's $950, so more than pays for itself. And then the Aeroplan card, when we go on vacation Europe this year, I want to be able to do pay yourself back for more than the 200,000 point cap. So that's why I have one, and my wife has one now. You'll see mine is here. Hers is over here. The other change that's already happened since the beginning of the year is this Venture One card. We just talked about that. That's Timmy. Used to be my Venture card. So I have Carl and Timmy. Timmy's probably going to go away and hopefully turn into Lenny in the near future so that I can get a Saver card, but we're going to keep our fingers crossed on that. Carl will turn into the Venture X later in the year, but temporarily, for the time being, I have 2 Venture One cards because I downgraded my Venture X. And then this is the big news. So you look carefully up here. What do you notice? I have 2 Citi custom caches now, not just one. So I used to have a Strata Premier, a custom cache, and a Rewards Plus. But now, no more Strata Premier. Just this last week, I believe it was Tuesday when I was driving to work, my annual fee had already posted, so I called Citi customer service, talked about a potential retention offer, and they did offer me a retention offer. There was 2 of them. They weren't very good. One of them was the same I had last year. We have to spend $1,000 in 3 consecutive billing cycles, and then you would get your $95 annual fee refunded. And I was like, I don't really want to keep the Strata Premier. But the other one was, I don't remember. I think it was spend $6,000 in 6 months and you'll get the annual fee refunded. And I was like, or maybe it was 10K points. I'm like, if it was 20K, I would do it, but I don't really want to do it for that. And then she was like, well, would you consider downgrading to a no annual fee card? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Even though I'm considering punching Citi in the face and getting out from under them because their service has just been so bad. And I'm 95% sure all of their call centers are in other countries because certainly, we're a country of the melting pot and everything, and different people have different accents. But when you call in, everyone has a Southeast Asian type accent, everyone. And they all have, I pick my American sounding name. So I don't think it's US based customer service. Their processes are weird. Their website is weird. My Touch ID doesn't work on my app anymore. They forced me to change my username maybe twice. I don't remember. But Citi just annoys me. But at least I can run with 2 custom caches for a while. Maybe I'll fall in love with that strategy that some people love of having multiple custom caches and using it as a cashback setup. I don't know. I'm willing to experiment with it, but I'm not paying any annual fees to Citi anymore between now and when I end up making my full decision. So those are all the changes since the start of this year. Let's catch up on comments here. I see Allie's in the house. How you doing, Allie? Good to see you this morning. And Too Easy said, if I want to downgrade my Strata, do I need to transfer all my points? No, but there are some considerations. The reason I cashed out or transferred all my points to transfer partners was because I wasn't sure if I was going to cancel on the phone call or product change. So I wanted to be in a safe place just in case and not risk losing any points. You can't really transfer points with Citi per se from one card to another, but they do this pooling, and behind the scenes, the points are tied to a specific card. So I've heard people say, people who have like say 2 or more Citi cards, they call in to cancel just one, thinking the other one will keep their points alive, and they don't. Like a month later, half their points just disappears. Clairvoyant says 2 Citi custom caches and no PayPal debit cards. Well, Clairvoyant, hold that thought for about a week. I will have some important information to share with you, but I'm not ready to share that information yet. Rodney Haynes said testing Aeroplan card at Walmart did get 3x. Did a second purchase through the United X app to buy a Walmart gift card, which is an additional half a United point per dollar, plus a 25% bonus if you have a United credit card, and it worked. That's the equivalent of 3.625 points per dollar. Hey, that's a good idea. I'll have to look into that. United's not high on my priority list, but if it's a free extra half point per dollar, why not do it? And Clairvoyant also says, I heard the PayPal debit card gets 5% at Walmart. I did watch a video that Stan the Credit Frog did, and he referred to some other guy. I apologize, I don't remember his name. And that other guy said he got 5x at Walmart and Sam's Club. So what do you know? Or maybe it was just Walmart. I don't know, but definitely worth experimenting on. All right, keep going with the main event here. All right, so here's what everything looks like right now. And we're going to start chopping cards out. Karate chop. So these are the cards that I intend to cancel or in some way downgrade or change, but probably just straight up cancel by the end of this calendar year, 2025. First up is my wife's business platinum card. I'll be candid. The only reason I get business platinum cards are the sign-up bonus. Now, it's possible they'll throw a massive retention offer at us if it's like 50,000 Amex points or something like that. For not too terribly much spend, we'll keep it. But unless it's a offer we can't refuse, that card is going away at the end of the year because there's no way I'm making $695 back in coupons after year one. Some people certainly do. I'm not trying to disparage it overall, but for me, I really like corn, and it just doesn't earn enough. It doesn't have enough perks and coupons to make it worth it. And I don't like coupons. Then my wife's One Key card. That's the card that works with Expedia and Hotels.com. I got that A, for the sign-up bonus and just to do some experimentation. I never really got around to doing truckloads of experimentation with it. I was hoping it was hackable, but the small amount of experimentation I did, it wasn't really that hackable. The only time the status that comes with it is helpful is if you are staying at expensive non-chain hotels in big cities. Like if you want to stay at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C., or a specific non-chain hotel in London or New York City. That doesn't really fit my travel style either. So for me, that one was probably just a one and done. Now, something I would like to do is product change that card to a different Wells Fargo card, like the Attune card, for example. However, I don't know if Wells Fargo is cool with that. Most issuers like Amex and Chase, and as far as I know, well, I was going to say Capital One, but I don't think Capital One has any co-branded cards. Amex and Chase don't let you switch between a co-branded card and a regular ecosystem card. For example, you cannot change your Hilton Honors card to a Blue Cash every day. You can't change your Hilton card to Amex Gold, that kind of thing. You cannot change your Chase IHG card into a Freedom Flex. That'd be cool if you could, but you can't. Citi does allow it. I don't think Wells Fargo's been around long enough that we know the answer to that. If any of you guys know the answer to that, does Wells Fargo let you switch from co-branded, like a Choice or a One Key card, to one of their mainline cards, like an Autograph or an Attune? Let me know. Ian says, anyone here have the Robin Hood Goulds, like Robert Goulet? That's probably supposed to be gold. I'm kidding. And then QC Man 2000's on board. How you doing, QC Man? Salute. Thank you for being a diehard. I think the guy is Daniel Sparks with the PayPal debit card video. I feel like PayPal will eventually nerf the card down to actual grocery stores like other cards, but definitely use it while it lasts. Yeah, exactly. I mean, make hay while the sun is shining. There's lots of things in the history of points and miles that have gotten nerfed, but we were glad that we got in when we did. So if I can use a PayPal debit card for 5% on dining or Walmart between now and the end of the year, it's a debit card. There's no hard pull. So very little inconvenience, very little damage. Clairvoyant says, Wells Fargo would not let me product change to the Attune. Okay, so it seems unlikely, but I'm still going to try. Tim McDonald has a question. I'm going to hold off on that question till the end of this screen, then I'll come back to it. Back over here. So another card that's on the table for cancellation is the Hawaiian Airlines card. That one purchase, 70,000 point card. My wife picked that up late last year. So that was just a one and done, get the sign up bonus. I believe I made 2 purchases ever on the card, and they were both at gas stations, I think. What else? Okay, down in the bottom right-hand corner, I'll go back so you can see it a little bit better. There's a card that says Fifth Third Bank, and we're going to get rid of that one. That's called a 1% everywhere card, and the only reason I got that card was for 0% APR for 18 months, and that's pretty good. But the 0% APR period ends before the end of this calendar year. There's absolutely no reason to keep that card around. It literally is a 1% cashback card otherwise. So that card will be on the chopping block. All right, that's the end of this particular screen. So I can catch up on questions now. Tim McDonald asks this: what is your favorite rental car status that you can get from a credit card? I have National EE, but it's always more money. I'll be very honest with you, Tim. I don't have a lot of experience with this. I have President's Circle from Hertz, which I picked up back when Timmy was a Venture X card. And that has been my favorite because I've been able to skip the counter several times. Now, is the ability to skip the counter especially unique? Not necessarily, but it has always worked with me for Hertz. It has not always worked with me for Avis. I had a couple bad experiences with Avis. I think I hit one point where 3 out of 5 rentals had problems. And after the second one, I decided that I was going to not use After the second problem, I said, all right, I'm on strike 2. If you get one more strike, Avis, you're out. And I think that's when I went to Panama City Beach, and they gave me the wrong car. And I don't mean the wrong kind of car. They gave me the wrong car. So it was like I got the car that was reserved by Bill Smith from Rochester, New York, and Bill Smith got the car that Dugroz from Iowa had reserved. The keys, and which has like license plate and registration, everything, didn't match the printout of the reservation that they gave me. So if I had gotten in an accident, it would have been blamed on Bill. If Bill had gotten in an accident, it would have been blamed on me. And it was this big headache when I returned it. So I'm done with Avis. Maybe someday they'll offer something that pulls me back in. I have gold status with Enterprise. I think I have gold plus, whatever that is, with Enterprise, which I'm not really sure what that gets me. I think it lets me skip the line, but don't quote me on that. And that's because I was able to status match over from something. I don't remember what it is. As of right now, I'm scheduled to drive an Enterprise car from Des Moines to Minneapolis before I fly to Europe this summer. So we'll see how that goes. So I guess I'd say Hertz, but that's just because I don't have a lot of others to compare it to. If anybody has a recommendation on that, let me know. If you're real familiar with Enterprise's program and what you need to skip the counter. The Rewards Master's on board. How you doing, Rewards Master? Very cool channel. Check out his channel. So you know that I'm a guy who always tries to make travel free. His philosophy is the exact opposite of mine. He tries to get maximum cents per point, but that's cool too. Citi's real power is spending. The Rewards Plus adds 10% rebate, making their 5% cards the very best. They are super powerful for those of us with the old Prestige card. We get US-based customer service. Interesting. Yeah, if I had the OG Prestige, that would be very different. But the position I'm in right now, unless I employ manufactured spending, I'm a low spender. I don't have hardly any business spend. I don't travel for work. I don't really have a way to deploy everyday spend into massive amounts of points. I would like to, but I can see that Citi is a way different experience without the Prestige. Oh, hey, yeah, you read my mind. Clairvoyant asked this: when you do the 0% APR balance transfers, you typically pay the 5% fee. That's been a major reason I've avoided doing it. Great question. The answer is no. Since I got into points and miles in 2019, I've done several 0% cards and intentionally carried a balance to spread out payments or to put that money in a money market and earn 4 or 5% interest. Only one of those times have I done an actual balance transfer. I mostly just make purchases, and that can happen in a couple different ways. Well, let me give you a real life example here with the cards that are on the screen right now. So my wife picked up the Business Unlimited right here. Come on, show it right here. The Chase Business Unlimited. And obviously, you know, the 75,000 points was awesome, but it's also 0% for a year. So when she was doing the sign up bonus, I just had her put everything on this card to get to the sign up bonus. And then we're not going to pay it off right away. So we're going to take the money that we would have used to pay that off and use that to pay off a different card that maybe he's only got 2 or 3 months left and it's 0% APR. So instead of doing a balance transfer, I'm kind of just, you know, money is fungible and flexible. So I'm taking the money that I would normally use on just regular everyday budget items, put it on a 0% card, and then take that money that I would have spent instead of paying it all off immediately to pay it off. So it's sort of like an indirect balance transfer, but instead of doing a balance transfer and paying the fee, I just accomplish it that way. That's my preferred method. The one time that I did use the balance transfer is just because I only had a few days to act. So it was a big hurry thing, and I couldn't get the money, the great switcheroo, fast enough. Obviously, that takes a lot of planning. You have to keep accurate spreadsheets, those kind of things. So I'm not saying other people should do that. If you are big on spreadsheets and you're very diligent keeping track of things, that works. If you're not, probably just pay the 3, 4, 5% fee. QC Man says, I think we can predict that the US Bank Altitude Reserve and the Wells Fargo Golden Ponies card will easily survive the cut. I think you might be right. Ron Burns says, my problem with Hertz is that they want to charge my Venture X because it's tied to my account instead of my work issued card when I'm on work travel. Well, I would actually prefer they charge my Venture X if I get to earn the points and get reimbursed. But if it makes your boss and your accounting department angry, that's not very fun. Huh, that's interesting. I did have, so I have booked through third-party portals, and they tried to charge it to my Venture X too. So like say I book on Travelocity because they have the best deal. I use a website called AutoSlash, and it'll often feed me to a third-party place. And then you can put in like your Hertz Gold or Present Circle number, and it'll show up in your app, and they know it's a reservation. So then when you go to check out, they want to automatically charge that card. So you get to kind of skip the line. You can't just like walk out into the parking lot, get in the car and leave. But usually there's a little booth out in the parking lot, and you just have to stop by the little booth and tell them which card you want to charge. Then click a few buttons and switch it over. It's not like the big line that all the plebeians are in. It's a much more elite little line. And of course, the Aeroplan card. Yeah, I think that'll survive the cut. There might be a point in the future where I trim down to just one Aeroplan card when we're not doing big time vacations. But for now, I'm going to keep both of them for at least through the end of this year. Ron Burns says, GeoBreeze's YouTube channel recently had a video covering different strategies, max value, minimum cash spent, etc. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out. So yeah, if you took me and the rewards master and we're like looking at the dictionary definition of those two different approaches, that would be it. But I'm totally cool with that. Honestly, I want to be like him when I grow up. Hopefully someday when I'm an empty nester and it's just me and the missus traveling and my personal financial situation can afford all the little things like food on vacation and the ferry ride and those kind of things, then I'll save all my points for business and first class flights. But that's not the position we're in right now. Do you ever find your 40s to be kind of a weird, awkward transitional time? Like you're starting to get more financial freedom, but you're definitely not there yet. Like, you know, you have enough money in your 401k to cover an emergency, but you also tell your kids we can't afford that. And it's like, what do you mean we can't afford that? You have all this money in your retirement account. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't count. Not that I have a truckload of money in my 401k, but I have enough that we could cover an emergency if we had to. All right, back to the theme. Uh-oh, I done messed up. There we go. Okay, I made my screen temporarily disappear and it freaked me out. All right, so if we take out those cards that I know for sure I'm cutting out by the end of this calendar year, it looks like that, but I don't like a screen that has holes in it, so I always have to rearrange it to make it as rectangular or square as possible. I'm kind of a square fellow, and that would look like this. Poor Wyndham Earners card, as Dennis the Menace would say. Poor Wyndham Earners card up here in the corner all by itself, sticking out awkwardly. But hey, that's how it is. All right, now let's talk about cards that are not definitely on the chalking block, but would maybe be on the chopping block. First up is this guy down here, kind of a weird rare card. Let me take away the graphic so you can see it right there. It's got the State Farm logo. This is the State Farm Business Cash Rewards. This is issued by US Bank. Last I knew, this card has no sign-up bonus at all. It was a 0% APR card for a year. So again, got to spread out some purchases, shift my stuff around, earn 4% in a money market while having it. It gives 3% cash back on insurance premiums, not just State Farm, but any insurance company. I tried it with Aflac once and it worked just fine. I think I tried it with my dad's Farm Bureau account once and it worked just fine. Do State Farm and Farm Bureau hate each other? I bet they do, because they both have the word farm in it and they're both insurance companies. And then farmers, how do they feel about it? 3% back on insurance premiums up to $4,000 per year, which if it was uncapped, that would be a lot more exciting. 3% is kind of meh. And then it has some 3% cashback categories that are super common, like gas and dining and office supply stores, that really aren't anything great. So I'm not going to use it as a spend card. The reason I hesitate a little bit about canceling it is it does have that benefit where if you make 12 consecutive monthly purchases on software, and it's only certain kinds of software, including Adobe, you get $99 refunded back to you, or maybe it's $100. So it would be a situation where, like I would only be keeping it for that benefit. I do use Adobe Spark for my thumbnails and some of my ludicrous things that I do with artwork on my channel of like, making my family look like we're from Ireland or Austria or Germany. What's the word I'm looking for? AI artwork. It does that. Adobe Spark is sort of like the junior average Joe's version of Adobe Photoshop. And that's like $12 a month. So if I got $100 off, that would take it down to like $30, $40 a year, which isn't too bad. So maybe I'll keep it, maybe I won't. Still debating it. And then you'll see there's 2 Signifies up here. My wife picked up a Signify card. I already had one. There's really no point having 2 Signify cards in our household. It's just duplicative. I have found out that if you only have a cash back earning card, you cannot move your Wells Fargo points from player 1 to player 2 or vice versa. At least you can't do it online. So my wife needs to get some sort of intermediary card before I cancel that so I can get the points over to me, or she can get onto that other card, something that earns points, which would have to, as of right now, either be the autograph or the autograph journey. So it's on the chopping block, but a couple other steps have to happen before that's at risk of being chopped out. And then, of course, the biggest change possibly would be if I decide to bail on Citi altogether just because they've torqued me off too much. I would get rid of all 3 of my Citi cards at the same time if I was going to do that. So if I take those steps, we look like this, and then we want to make things nice and square, and now it looks like this. Oh, Wyndham, you're still off here on a T-wing all by yourself. Poor Wyndham. But hey, it's 5 cards in a column, and we eliminated 5 cards, so that's what it would look like. All right, I got a whole bunch of comments here. Let me catch up on them here. Luke says, I never say we can't afford it. I just tell them no. There are more important things. That's some good advice. Or we can afford it, but it might not be worth it. I gotcha. Rewards Master says, when my kids were home, we were the same way. An empty nest supercharges points and miles as long as your grown kids don't live in your basement, LOL. I have actually thought to myself, if my kids live in my basement or their bedroom, and obviously I'm not trying to make light of that situation. If my kids save money on college tuition by living at home, I might be okay with that. Need to think that over a little more. But it could be cool to have a kid living in your house while being an empty nester. It's just they may not get to go with you. So they can put out the garbage. They can shovel the sidewalk. They can make sure the pipes don't freeze. They can do all the good stuff or necessary stuff while you're gone. Clairvoyant says, I turned 40 on March 6th. Time flies. Awesome. My birthday's also in the month of March, Clairvoyant. Just a few more days in my 30s. I tell you, I remember my 30th birthday party because my boys were little. I was born in my late 20s. They were born in my late 20s. So I remember my 30th birthday party. And the next few years, I remember like when one of my kids was little, like 4 or 5, we walked into a jewelry store or a card store or something to get my wife a present. And the cashier was a nice old lady. And she said, oh, how old are you, little boy? And he said, I'm 3 and my dad's 33. Like, it was just super fun to say how old my dad was. From that point on, it just seems like it's all kind of a blur. And other than some gray in my beard, not a lot has changed. So from like apparently 33 to 45, you don't feel all that different. Tom says, responding to Luke, that's basically what I tell my kids. It's not that we can't afford it. We could. It's just a poor use of money. I'll have to keep that in mind. And QC Man responds to the Wards Master, I never hear, Mom, where's the meatloaf in your videos? So it's safe. So you're safe there with your grown kids. Tom DeCase is on board. How you doing, Tom? Even though you have to wait in rental car line, I've got really good value credit card deals with Dollar in the AR portal. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to keep that in mind. I did use Dollar down in New Orleans, and there was a like poor man skip the line thing. It wasn't like in their app. It was like I had to go to the check-in area, use my phone, scan a Q card on a sign, and check in that way. So it worked. Bring on the meatloaf. All right, back to this kind of stuff. All right, so what are we going to talk about next? So I talked about what I'm getting rid of. I talked about what I might be getting rid of. Now it's time to talk about, and I think it's important to keep your portfolio nice and trim. This would take it down to, what do we got here? 5 by 5. So that's 25, add 1, we got 26. It's important to keep your portfolio nice and trim. Now, obviously, this guy here, the business green, will hopefully product change to something more useful between now and January 1st of next year. This guy up here in the corner, the Blue Cash Every Day, is technically a Blue Cash Preferred right now because I got a free upgrade. But as soon as the annual fee hits, I'll downgrade it back down. I didn't take the time to change the card art. I don't know next year if we'll be keeping the business cash, but it'll be around at least through the end of this calendar year. So this is subject to change, but here's what I have in mind for additions in the not too distant future. So first, I'm going to take a shot, and that's why I have it coming in from the side. That's representative taking my shot to get another ink card. Do I think it will happen? I think the odds are more bad than good. I've already signed up for every you are earning Chase card. I have the preferred, I have the cash, and I have the unlimited, and I actually had a cash in the past I've already canceled. So will they grant me a 5th Chase Ink card based on kind of the talk I'm hearing around the world of points and miles? I think it's doubtful, but I got to take my shot. So, my wife will refer me. So we're talking at least 95,000 points. Why wouldn't I try to keep on chugging on the ink train if I can? Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I give it about a 25 to 30% chance of working, but I'm going to try. Oh, hey, I just noticed we got 80 people on board. So thumbs up. See if we can get, do you suppose I'll ever get 100 concurrent viewers on board? I doubt it, but I doubt it'll be anytime in the near future. Maybe a year from now I will. Next, so the Marriott Bonvoy card, and really that's just a placeholder for any Marriott personal card that's issued by Chase. My goal is to take the path to the Ritz-Carlton card. I've talked about that in other videos. I did a standalone video about 2 weeks ago called the Triple Threat about why I am strongly considering that. Will I have it in the long run? I don't know, but I'd like to have my Marriott personal card for a year. Then I would like to product change to the Ritz-Carlton. I want to try to product change the Ritz-Carlton in less than a year just to prove to myself whether or not it's possible. I know everybody tells me it's not possible, but there have been a handful of things I've done in the world of points and miles that people have said don't work, and it worked. So like the Aeroplan getting 3x at Walmart. Let's see what happens. I mean, be the data point you want to be. It's not hard to call and ask. Get the Ritz-Carlton tried out for a year. Obviously, that'll impact my Sapphire Reserve / Preferred. That would probably see me downgrading the Reserve to a Preferred. I didn't take the time to update that artwork, but let's see what happens. It'll be whichever Marriott personal card trips my trigger the most. It could be the Boundless. That seems to be the most balanced, popular one, the $99 annual fee one. It could be the Bold, the no annual fee one, if that has some good reason for it. It could be the silly mid-tier one. What's that called? Bevy. If they gave me a 200,000 point sign-up bonus, maybe I'll just whatever works good for a sign-up bonus at the time. And then look at that Venture One card. It's going to change into a Saver card. I want to show you that animation again because I worked hard on that. So look right here. Look right here at the Capital One section. We're going to hope that Timmy goes away and turns into Lenny, the Saver card. Maybe that'll be a product change. Maybe I'll have to actually apply for scratch from the Saver card. I actually almost pulled the trigger and applied for a Saver card that is the For Good credit where you don't get a sign-up bonus a few days ago, but I decided not to. I'm working on a members-only video right now talking about that, so another reason to be a big-time diehard. Only $3 a month. You get to watch that kind of videos. QC Man was impressed with the animation. Thank you, QC Man. I appreciate it. And then continuing on here, the aforementioned Wells Fargo Attune card. Now, I would like it if my wife could product change her one key card into that, but I don't think it's going to happen. And the sign-up bonus on this guy is so little. It's only $100, and then they give $50 to charity. Can't you give me the $50, Wells Fargo, and let me decide what charity to give it to? But I digress. I'd be happy with a product change. If that card keeps earning 4 transferable points on Amazon, that would be a good fit for our family. And then last but not least, well, maybe least, the Wyndham Rewards card. This is not the business card. This is the Earner Plus card, the personal one. So we got the business up here and the personal down here. And I'll spend a little time talking about that in just a moment. Andrew Beach has arrived. How you doing? Andrew says, good morning from PDX. I know you told me this last time and I already forgot. What does PDX stand for? What did I miss? You missed about 3/4 of the theme of the day and all of the data points, but hey, it's available on replay, so no problem. All right, let's talk about that a little bit. So I'm going to deviate from the theme of the day just a bit to go over some math. I've been inspired to math out earnings even when they seem good in the near future. Portland is PDX. Thank you for the reminder. So let's math that out a little bit here with the Wyndham thought process. So I could create my own Wyndham Duo. I've already got the Wyndham Earner Business Card. I could get the Wyndham Earners Plus Personal Card if they allow me to. And this combination would earn me the following. I'd earn 4x on dining and groceries. That goes on the Wyndham Rewards Earner Plus card. And then 5x on utilities with the business card and 8x on gas on the Wyndham card. Now, both of these cards have an annual fee, but both of them have an amount of points that covers that annual fee. So the Wyndham card just straight up gives you, I think it's 15,000 Wyndham points a year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would value that at least $150 in value. So that more than covers the $99 annual fee. And the Wyndham Personal Plus card, Earner Plus card, gives a $75 annual fee, and I think gives 7,500 free points a year. So I'm not taking, I would value that at least a penny per point. So I'm not going to worry about the annual fee right now because I like Wyndham Rewards. And if you're wondering, Doug, why do you like Wyndham? They're kind of sucky. Who wants to stay at a Days Inn or a Roadway Inn or whatever? I don't even know if Roadway Inn is a Wyndham. A Super 8. Who wants to stay there? Not me. I stayed at a Days Inn once. It was meh. It was okay. And then I stayed at a Wingate by Wyndham right next to the St. Louis airport once, and it was the same thing. It was okay, but not great. I use Vacasa and cottages.com, and it just suits my travel style and what I like absolutely perfectly. I've done it 3 times so far. I'm planning to do my 4th one, and it's a doozy. It's a killer redemption in Wales this coming summer, and I think you guys are going to like hearing about it. So that's why I talk about Wyndham Rewards. Let's pause for a moment and catch up on comments here. Oh, hey, QC Man decided to be charitable and give me $1.99 to give to the Wells Fargo charity. Would it be okay if I give it to the charity of my choice? Celebrate. Thank you, QC Man. I really appreciate your support. He's also a big-time diehard. Cesar has arrived. Dang, no notification from YouTube. Happy to see you, mi hermano. Happy to see you too, Cesar. Thank you. Hey, we got 84 people on board. And a lot of people saying hi. I was going to say Tom Happyuk, but it looks like you have changed your username to Happy Tom. Well, that's a little easier to pronounce, but if I remember correctly, you became a diehard because I pronounced your last name correctly, Tom Happyuk, now known as Happy Tom. And he confirms to me that 15,000 points is what they give away on the Earner card. Tim McDonald says, I get all of my hotel cards in the fall to help align all of the free night awards. Makes trip planning much easier. That makes sense. I would, in theory, do the same thing. I don't even remember when I got my Wyndham Earner business card. I end up getting a lot of cards like around late January and February every year. That's the way my Strata Premier was. That's the way my Wells Fargo Altitude Reserve is. That's the way my Hilton Surpass is. It's kind of annual fee season right now for me. QCM says, Andrew Beach, your home is one of the few airports where all the fuss about credit cards dropping PP restaurants was actually a big deal. Ooh, glad I don't have to deal with that. Well, I'm kind of not glad because that means I live in Des Moines, Iowa, which has no lounges at the airport. Back to Wyndham. So I value the Wyndham points conservatively at 1.25 cents per point. If I'm doing a Vacasa or cottages.com, I can usually get at least that much. I think in the past I've gotten like 1.89 bumping up against 2 cents per point. I think the one that we booked for Wales this coming summer is around 1.7 cents per point. So that's what I'm going to value it at for this exercise. So at that valuation, 4x on dining would be the equivalent of 5% cash back. On groceries, the 4x would be the equivalent of 5% cash back. On utilities, the 5x would be the equivalent of 6.25% cash back. And the 8x on gas would be the equivalent of 10% cash back. Now, stop and think for just a second. If there was a duo out there for a, let's just say a cashback earning card or duo of cashback earning cards where they gave you some sort of benefit that you felt canceled out the annual fee, and these were your earning: 5% cash back on dining and groceries, 6.25% back on utilities, and 10% back on gas. This card would cause a collective euphoria to go throughout the credit card points and miles community. This would be the greatest cashback earning duo ever in the history of credit cards if this existed. It's weird because we look at cards like a hotel card with this sort of earnings once we calculate how we value the points, and we're like, meh. But we all know the reason why we do that is because you're giving up flexibility for the sake of greater earnings. However, to do a good quality evaluation of how this works out, oh, hey, 85 people on board. That's awesome. Can we get to 90? Thumbs up. To get a good quality evaluation, what we have to do is do some more math. Is there a way to get to this level of earnings a different way? So I'd like to give a huge hat tip to Spaithco. He's a user that frequently appears on the Discords, both the Venture Discord as well as the Stack Your Points Discord, for challenging me and others to think about using cash back to buy points and then do the math to see which is better, earning it in the proprietary currency on their card, or using a cash back card to make that purchase and then buy the points with the cash back you earned. Hopefully that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is say, if I used a cash back card on those same categories and I optimized it, how many Wyndham points could I walk away with? Well, the best recent sale of Wyndham points was in December of last year, and that was at 0.715 cents per point. And I actually used that. Admittedly, it was targeted, so not everybody got it. But from data points I saw, a lot of people who had the credit cards did get targeted for that. So if you had a 3% cashback card, and every time you spent $100, you used your $3 to buy Wyndham points on sale at this valuation, you would get 4.19 Wyndham points for every dollar spent. So that already beats these two 4x categories. So the dining and grocery on the Wyndham Earner Plus, which are the only two good things it has, you might as well just use your 3% cashback card and wait for a sale. If it was a 4% cashback card, I know there's some cards out there that get you 4% cash back on gas. I believe the US Bank Connect card does. Altitude Connect, the US Bank Altitude Connect gets 4% cash back on gas. The US Bank Altitude Go gets 4% back on dining, and those are both new annual fee cards. I know PNC Bank has a card that gets you 4% cash back on gas. Yes, it's capped. You've got things like your rotating categories. So if you used your 4% cash back card and then use it to buy Wyndham points, you would get 5.59 Wyndham points for every dollar spent. Well, that beats these first three already. What if you actually maximized, like Uncle Luke, you go out and get all the obscure credit union cards, and you could get 5% on some of these categories? That would get you the equivalent of 6.99 Wyndham points for every dollar spent. And the takeaway is this: other than gas, it's better to just use cash back and then buy the points. So gas is still worth doing because I don't think you're going to get a cash back card that consistently earns more than 5% on dining, groceries, utility, or gas. You can get 5% cash back on utilities with the U.S. Bank Cash Plus card is another example. So that makes me think it's probably not worth getting the Wyndham Earner Plus card. If it was something where I'm just doing a sign-up bonus, it might be worth it. This isn't really a great duo now that I've actually taken the time to do the math. All right, I'm going to catch up on comments here. Andrew referring to the PDX lounges. The Escape Lounge has been promised for 3 years now. Who has the Escape Lounge? That's like the junior Amex lounge, right? Clairvoyant says, did you record your US Bank retention call yet? I did. I haven't published it, but I recorded it, so stay tuned. Both Cesar and QC Man remind people to smash the thumbs up button. David Gomez says this, to get a bunch of Wyndham points, I go to the timeshare things they do. I get a hotel where I want to go and they pay me back in points. Hey, that's not a bad idea. My family had a very bad experience with a timeshare that has haunted us for a couple decades now. So I have a very emotional reaction to timeshare presentation. So I don't think I would go just because I don't want to accidentally have an aneurysm. But if you're someone that can deal with it, I understand. That's totally cool. Luke says, I've been making videos on using cash back to purchase points, and I've learned that if you aren't getting more than average cents per point, you can do way better with 0 annual fee 5% cards, and it's not even close. But cashback isn't as sexy as getting 1.25 cents per point in travel. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, so I can do what's on the screen here. So let me just pick one as an example. I could use a 4% card and get 5.59 Wyndham points per dollar and still get the 1.25 cents per point. So 5.59 times 1.25, based on how I use the points and value them, that's the equivalent of this number, 6.98, almost 7% cash back equivalent. Not quite, but almost. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Uncle Luke. That's true. David Gomez says, I'm going to Vegas, staying there at a hotel, the Flamingo, and getting 4,500 Wyndham points, and I spend $200 for the hotel and a $100 gift card plus the 45K Wyndham points, all to say no at a timeshare. I suppose there's a point where I might do it. If they gave me 1 million Wyndham points, I would. I'll have to think about that. TH says, let's drop a members-only video about the haunted timeshare incident. Okay. It's really not that interesting. It's basically just my parents kind of got conned into opening a timeshare back in the very early 2000s, and we still have it. We can't get rid of it. Timeshares don't do a whole lot of good when you are elderly, disabled, and living in an assisted living facility, do they? Rodrigo is here. How you doing, Rodrigo Mendez? Chink Ink cards reporting to personal credit. Is this the end of the train? I had not heard that. That is interesting. I'll tuck that away. Tom says, I wouldn't try to go from 3 to 4 business cards. There's less than a 15% chance, but with 2 to 3, you have a 60% chance. Katie's Travel Tricks collected 600 data points with looking at on her site before you apply for an ink. Oh, hey, I'll check that out. I don't know that getting a hard pull is that big of a deal. If it's just a hard pull, I'll have to think that over. Now, if it reports to my personal credit and takes me out of 524 so I can't do my Bonvoy trick, then I have to really put some thought into it. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Tom. Luke says, the best example is the Chase Sapphire preferred using the portal. Dining 3x time 1.25 is what? 3.75? 5% cash back kills that, and the more you spend, the greater the gap. Absolutely. I get that. Oop. Rodrigo, was that just an individual incident? No ink report on my credit. Luke is also wanting a source on that. So let's see where that goes. All right, let's keep going over here with my presentation. We're getting close to the end. So I said I wouldn't get Wyndham unless it was a sign-up bonus. Well, oh, nope. There's one thing I forgot to talk about. I want to set this up better so I can seem all cool and stuff. There is one exception. So remember I said 8x on gas alone where it's worthwhile. Well, let's do the fast and fresh trick. That's what I call it because it works in my area. So here in the Midwest, there's a chain of grocery stores called Hy-Vee, and it's named after a guy whose last name was Hyde and another guy whose last name was Vinger or something like that. And they combined their names, and now it's called Hy-Vee. They have their own chain of gas stations, and usually the gas stations are right out at the end of the Hy-Vee parking lot. So it's really close. With Barclays, it codes as gas. Now, for some reason, US Bank and Amex don't code it as gas, but everybody else does. So you can walk into a Hy-Vee fast and fresh, buy a Hy-Vee gift card for the exact amount of groceries you want to buy, walk across the parking lot, or if you're lazy, drive across the parking lot, buy your groceries. Well, it's not laziness because you have a cart full of groceries with that gift card, and effectively you've gotten 8 Wyndham points per dollar on your groceries. I've actually done this before. They also sell like Amazon gift cards. They sell Casey's gift cards, which is a different gas station. Some of them, not all of them, sell prepaid Visa gift cards. Now, unless you get lucky, I have gotten lucky a few times, but unless you get lucky, you have to pay like a $7 activation fee on those. So that's not as good, but that's something you can consider. If you're willing to do a little bit of creative spending, you can do the fast and fresh method, get 8x on whatever, and then turn it into at least groceries, maybe dining, maybe utilities. They have some of those gift cards that I don't remember. What are they called, folks? You'll know it when I say it. It's like, here's a gift card you can use for like 7 different restaurants. It's called Best Of or something like that. So you can use those too. All right. Comments here. The good doctor of credit is where he heard about somebody's Inc. application reporting to personal credit. Platinum OG says, we hear data points. You are earning business cards, or did co-branded from Chase count too? I don't know the answer to that. Spathco has arrived. Did you hear me give you mad props about 7 minutes ago, Spathco? Reddit is the source on the Inc.'s reporting. What's weird is people holding multiple are just having 1 or 2 report, regular posters, so I trust the data points. Is that retroactive, or do you just mean the hard pull? Like, if I look on my credit report, is all of a sudden my Chase Inc. Unlimited going to be reporting monthly how much I have on there? JP says, 2 bits of math people rarely do is buying points with cash back, and also that you don't earn points when redeeming points. Both should be calculated, but rarely do people do it. That is absolutely true. The first point, I agree with you hardcore about people buying points, and you earn points on those. The second one about earning points when not earning points, redeeming points is true and should be calculated, but I think some people overplay it. Like I've heard people say, well, you should just pay cash on this Hilton because, you'll earn points on it. When I've actually broken down the math, and it's like, maybe you earn about $30 worth of benefit per night, but you're paying $400 per night, whereas you could use your points and get it free. So it's like, take it into consideration. It changes the math, but also don't overplay it. So both things are true. Great points, JP. So yeah, Spathco, I gave you mad props for inspiring me to always consider how much it would net me out to just buy the points. And that's what's going on this screen right here. All right, so let's move along. So I talked about the sign-up bonus. The sign-up bonus on the Wyndham Earner Plus card is 45,000 Wyndham points. There's that $75 annual fee, which you get 7,500 points back, so it pretty much cancels itself out. So 45,000 Wyndham points based on my personal valuation of 1.25 cents per point, because I use it for Vacasa and cottages. Would be the equivalent of $563. Did I net out the annual fee or not? No, because I said the points cancel it out. Okay, yeah, it's $563. What if instead I got the Wells Fargo autograph journey? Remember I said Mrs. Dugroz needs to get a points earning cards with Wells Fargo so we can transfer things over to me. Start with the Wells Fargo autograph journey. I have the autograph. Maybe she has the autograph journey. It has a sign-up bonus of 60,000 points. Now, there is a difference because the Wyndham card, you only have to spend $1,000 to get the sign-up bonus. The autograph journey, you have to spend $4,000. So if you're someone that does the return on spend calculations, that's important, but that's only important if you assume that if you aren't doing the sign-up bonus, the bigger sign-up bonus, you're going to do 4 smaller sign-up bonuses. So what I'm interested in, what gets me the most points. I like to go for big fish occasionally rather than lots of little fish. So it's not a big deal to me to get a sign-up bonus where I have to spend 4,000 instead of 1,000 if I'm only going to be doing it, once per quarter anyway. So let's math this one out. You would get 60,000 Wells Fargo points. You could save it and use it for transfer partners and get better value. But let's just say, for the sake of comparison, I'm totally cool taking it as cash. You're going to net that out to $555. I say net that out because it has the $95 annual fee, which I subtracted out, and then I credited back the $50 airline credit, which is pretty easy to use. Yeah, you could make a valid argument about not valuing it at full value, but for the sake of easy math, I'm going to. So when you net all that out, you'll turn your 60,000 Wells Fargo points into $555. And if I divide that into the 0.715 cents per points that I can buy Wyndham points on sale, I could use my $555 to buy 77,622 Wyndham points. So if we go back to the previous screen, the Wyndham card I signed up for got me 45,000 Wyndham points. If I use cash from the autograph journey to buy Wyndham points, I walk away with 77,622 Wyndham points. Plus, I have more flexibility because let's say something even better comes along and I don't want to use it for Wyndham. I have lots of choices. So again, with elevated earning cards at places like Wyndham or British Airlines or Aeroplan or whatever, captive points, you're giving up flexibility for greater earnings. But in some cases, you're not even getting greater earnings. So in this case, it would make more sense to go for the autograph journey player 2 than it would be to go for the Wyndham Earner Plus card player 1. Wells Fargo does it right, and I like them because you have the ultimate flexibility of 3 different choices. You can use transfer partners for whatever value you get out of that. I need to make myself larger here. You can use transfer partners for whatever you might get out of that. You can just take the cash and use it for whatever you want to use it on that, or you can use the cash to buy points in some other program. So transferable currencies are good. Transferable currencies that give you the option of also cashing out without playing any weird games like having to get the Schwab card or Business Platinum or secretly refunding yourself like the Altitude Reserve. I think those are the best kind of cards. And I would like to thank Wells Fargo and Chase and Citi for being reasonable like that. All right, so catching up a little bit. Ron Byrne says, I should check the points earned by using my Aspire card rather than redeeming points. I already have a spreadsheet to figure out the cents per point for an upcoming stay, so it would be easy to add. Yeah, I would encourage you to do that. More fun than working on taxes this weekend. I've already worked on my parents' taxes. I got to start my own here. Clairvoyant, it's very hard to assign a static value to the flexibility of cash or transferable credit card reward point. Yes, it is. We do it because it gives us a point of reference, but it is difficult to do. It's also very hard to assign a value to the flexibility you get with cash versus points. The answer is almost always it depends. It is. There are a few cases where it's not. I have told various friends in the points and miles space in discussions things like you want to be careful telling people they're doing it wrong with how they redeem points. There are a few examples where you are objectively doing it wrong if you can accomplish the exact same redemption and use fewer points. An example would be if you want to stay at an IHG and IHG points are on sale right now for a half penny each, but you don't know about it, so you transfer your Chase points to IHG and end up getting really crappy value. You could have just cashed out your Chase points and used it to buy IHG points, which would have been objectively better. So in that type of example, you can say your doing it wrong. But I don't necessarily think somebody that wants to maximize cents per point to get business and first class flights is more wrong than somebody like me who just wants everything to be free at the end of the day. JP Knowledge says, usually if you have top status with a hotel and use the top earning credit card, the earnings will range somewhere between 18 to 25% in a rebate, and that is redeeming the hotel points at base value. That sounds about right. So yeah, I'm with you, JP Knowledge. I wasn't trying to talk people out of doing cash stays and earning money on them. Just do the math and see how it turns out. But don't do the math. Don't make the claim and then not do the math. You know, some people will say, oh, if it's less than a penny per point, just pay cash. It's better. And I have had some examples where I've proven that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. I'm going to save your question, Rodrigo, till I get to the end of the presentation. We're close here. All right, so here's all the cards. And let's make a change. We're going to take away the Wyndham Earner card, and we're going to put in the Autograph Journey for Player 2 instead. Now, all of the new stuff was added over here on the right margin, so it's not arranged by issuer. I want to get it arranged so all the issuers are together. So let's go ahead and take just a moment to do that. Here we go. That's better. So now we have down here is the Chases. Up here is the Amex. We've got a column of Wells Fargo, US Bank, Cap One, and the awkward Barclays card over here. So let's go ahead and break down my portfolio and just show kind of what it looks like when we think about it by issuer. And I hope you appreciate these animations. I spent a good 7 minutes doing them. So first we've got the Chase block. And unfortunately, you can't make a nice square out of it, so I had to make a factory with a smokestack here. There are 14 cards issued by Chase Bank that I have. And then we're going to drop in, this is like playing Tetris, the Amex cards. Let's see that one more time. We're going to drop in the Amex cards, and Amex comes in second place with 6 cards issued by Amex. This is, again, if my plan comes to fruition at the end of this calendar year, by the end of this calendar year. We drop in the Wells Fargo column. Now, if we were playing Tetris, all of the cards should have disappeared because we just got a Tetris there. By the way, if someone, maybe Rich with Points or somebody else, King Sam, who's into like visuals and computer design, wants to make a Tetris game with credit cards, I think that would be a lot of fun. I would pay a couple bucks for it. Wells Fargo is now actually up into third place based on what we have going on here with 5 cards issued by Wells Fargo Bank. And then we're going to play Legos and kind of tack US Bank on the side. We've got 2 US Bank cards, my relatively old Cash Plus, and of course my Steady as She Goes Altitude Reserve. And then we're going to come up from the bottom, plug in our Capital One setup where I'm hoping to get Carl and Lenny. And that Venture One will eventually turn into a Venture X at some point. And that's 2 for Capital One. And then last but not least, weird old Wyndham has to go in there all by itself, issued by Barclays. So that's 1 Barclays card. And if we total that up, we've got 30 cards. I think 30 credit cards is a goodly amount. First of all, you can do a nice 6x5 rectangle, and I really like it being rectangular. I also feel like 30 is near the kind of high end of what is manageable enough without feeling like you're spending all your time managing cards. I wouldn't really want to get above that. And that's in 2-player mode, obviously. Yeah, kind of want to keep it around 30. Right now I'm in the 35 neighborhood, and that feels like too many. So I need to trim that down a little bit and do some product changing, do some replacing, those kind of things. Now, obviously, another thing to point out is in this setup, I have 2 Chase Inc. business cashes, which is kind of duplicative. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a time in the future I'm doing office supply for more than $25,000 a year. We'll have to see. What do you think? What do you think of my setup? What do you think of my roadmap? What do you think of my plan? I would love to hear your thoughts. All right. catch up on comments, then I need to use the bathroom, and then we'll go on to our community tab question. Rodrigo asks, what are you leaning towards in regards to Citi? I'm leaning towards getting out of Citi altogether, and for a couple reasons. One is just my travel style right now. I have a hard time. There's two good ways I earn points. One is with hacks, using credit cards, not quite in the way they're supposed to be used. So, for example, going into Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh, buying a Hy-Vee card, then going to the other side of the parking lot and using that card. So that's one way I earn lots of points. The other way is through sign-up bonuses. Now, I'm kind of a low spender. I'm a guy who, other than my YouTube channel, I work a 9-to-5 corporate job. I either work from home or I sit in a cubicle in an office building in downtown Des Moines. I don't travel for work, so there's no reimbursable spend. I'm not like Chad from Chad's Money Minutes, where everybody lets me go out and buy their lunch every day, so I don't have that kind of spend. The only spend I have is one of two things. It's either manufactured spend, which I have to be very careful about, or it's everyday spend. And my everyday spend is low. I can really only run like $50,000 a year through credit cards. So for me to have any chance of having a big time vacation or a major impact, I have to have hackability. The number one feature of a credit card in my mind, other than sign-up bonus, is hackability. And if you join as a diehard, when I come out with the video telling you why I nearly signed up for the Saver card, but I decided not to because I was just being emotional, you might understand that a little bit more. So yeah, join as a diehard and you'll get access to that kind of things. Luke says, paying cash and purchasing points are two different things. They are. There are times when they overlap. Also true. Let me think. Is there an example I want to give here? Paying cash and purchasing points. So I actually did this recently. When we're going to Austria, I looked at 3 different ways to pay. I looked at using existing points with Hilton and or transferring over Amex points and doing an all points stay. I looked at if I used cash to buy the points, what would I get? And that includes the points earned on a net basis on buying those points. And then I looked at just plain paying cash. And in my case, transferring points and paying with points was the best value because it was an above average Hilton redemption. It wasn't tremendous, but it was more than half a cent per point, but less than 1 cent per point. Whereas the other two options were just kind of meh. It all depends on what the price point is. It depends on how cheaply you can get the points, those kind of things. Is the Saver one also aspirational right now, or is it still a Venture 1? Right now, it's still a Venture 1. If you want to go back and watch the beginning of the video, I did talk about that just a little bit. So hopefully by the end of the year, I have a way to get the Saver, but it's probably not, let me rephrase that. It's definitely not worth getting the Saver card if I have to do a whole new hard pull, a whole new slot, and can't get a sign-up bonus. Just curious, Andrew asks, which cards in the setup are for subs only and you have little interest in keeping, and which ones will stay after you get them and why? I talked about that earlier in the video, so you can go back and catch that too. Luke says, buying Hilton points for half a penny isn't the same as paying cash for a room. Hopefully I clarified that in my last answer, but if I didn't, you can either ask later or catch me offline, one of the two. All right, so that's where things stand. I am going to do what we sometimes call our biology break. Sometimes we call it the intermission, but I got to go use the little boy's room, and I'll come back in about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. You can listen to some exciting copyright-free music. My only request would be that if you happen to get a advertisement while this is going on, just watch it. It helps support the channel. I'll be right back. I may have forgotten to monetize this video. Crap. Oh well, too late now. Here we go. I'm back. How y'all doing? So, have you gotten a single advertisement during today's live stream? Like I said, I'm pretty sure I forgot to monetize this video. I'll do that later. Okay. JP, now I think this is responding to Luke. Buying Hilton points half penny isn't the same as paying cash for a room. JP tells us it is, because if you stay at a property that costs 10,000 points, 100,000 points, unless you get fifth night free, you're paying 500 per night for a room. Per night. I think I know where you're going with this, but let's keep reading on. Luke says, JP, I agree, but we were first comparing purchasing points versus using travel miles. Then somehow we started talking about miles versus cash. The original topic was purchasing points with cashback credit cards. So we threw in a third variable, forgot about cashback credit cards. My goal, and maybe I didn't present it very well, I apologize if I didn't, was just to make sure you knew that buying points with the cashback credit card was an option. So for example, if I go back a few screens, using this example, I'm just talking about how many Wyndham points you're walking away with. So I'm using the Wells Fargo autograph journey as a cashback card. This is how many Wyndham points I walk away with, which is better than the sign-up bonus on the Wyndham card. And then over here, I'm just saying how many Wyndham points you get per dollar spent if you just buy them. I realize then if I use these points to book a Wyndham, I would not earn Wyndham points on top of that. It would just be I'm earning 5.59 Wyndham points per dollar in this example. So I'm aware of that, but if I didn't explain it very well, I certainly apologize. Let me get back to the end screen because it looks a lot cooler. And I have one more screen to present that I actually kind of forgot about. Whoops. Super fast forward mode. There we go. All right, here's the one screen that I forgot about. I apologize. Just sort of a summation. I feel like this whole thing is sort of like building with Legos. It's like your credit card Lego collection. Hey, I'm really excited. 79 people stayed on board through the intermission. Thanks for doing that, folks. And that's the end of the theme of the day. I kind of went a little too fast there. My bad. All right, now I'm going to keep going on comments here. QC man asks, for the content creator, is there amount of time we have to view for an ad before you get money for it? Because I usually skip when it appears. Thank you for asking. My preference would be that you not do that. We get more revenue the more of the ad you watch. So obviously during a live stream, you want to skip it so you don't miss content, and I totally support that. But if you're watching something that's not live, my preference would be you watch the entire ad, but that's kind of hard to do. So let's come up with a reasonable compromise. I once heard someone say that you have to watch at least 12 seconds of an advertisement in order for revenue to go to the content creator. If you skip the second it appears, which I think is about 8 seconds, they don't get any revenue. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. So if you would all be willing to support me and JP and Luke and other content creators that might be on board or might not be on board, watch at least 12 seconds of the ad. Then when you hit your 13th second, skip away. Thank you for asking. No ads for QC Man today. JP says, I guess I was thinking of it with a card like the Ink Premier. $1,000 sign-up bonus could buy you 200,000 Hilton Honors point, but I think I see what you're saying. I may be looking at it wrong. I think if Luke and JP and I all got in a room and just had notepads and did math, that would be a really boring video, but I think we would all end up in the same place. I want to say if I'm missing something, as long as you do it politely, like Luke and JP have done, I want to know about it. There have been things that I've missed. For example, like taking this Spaithco idea and using cashback to buy points. Even if you end up not doing it, like I determined 8x at gas stations is better than using cashback to buy the points. It's good to know, is what I'm doing worthwhile? An example is the IHG credit card. I'm okay with the IHG credit card, but it's not a card you want to put much of any spend on. There could be exceptions, but generally speaking, maybe if you're going for the big spend bonus, but even then I'd have to do the math and I don't think it's worth it. But like you earn 5 IHG points at gas stations. Okay, so for every dollar I spend at a gas station on my IHG card, I walk away with 5 IHG points. That sounds good. But since I can buy IHG points for half a penny each, let's think about it this way. What if I had the PNC card that gives 4% cash back on gas stations, or the Altitude Connect from US Bank that gives 4% cash back on gas stations, and then I use my 4x to buy IHG points. Now for every dollar spent, I'm walking away with 8 IHG points. So I'm trying to figure out why Chase and IHG don't make those earning categories better, because you're basically encouraging me to buy in at bad value. I'm actually better off using a 4% cash back card at gas stations and then buying my IHG points than I am earning IHG points at a gas station on IHG's best credit card. It seems kind of dumb to me. A different example is Hyatt. Hyatt's card is really bad at earning because I think it only goes up to 2x on certain things. But if you're using Chase cards to great value, where you get 3x on some things, 5x on some things, and then transferring those to Hyatt, because Hyatt points are so valuable in terms of cents per point, way 3 times better than IHG, you usually come out ahead on Hyatt compared to cash back. Already read that. Michael says, howdy. Rodrigo says, are you jumping around at any of the no lifetime language elevated offer Hilton links floating around? I have only seen them on the personal cards, and because I'm trying to preserve my 524 status for both the wife and I won't be jumping on any of those this time around unless I see one that's too good to be true. If any of you know if there's a no lifetime language on the Hilton business card, that I might be interested in. Now, of course, Hilton can always win me over. Let's say they had a no lifetime language offer for the Surpass card for 500,000 Hilton points plus a free night certificate. I would blow my 524 spot for that. JP says, when I began to look into the worlds of purchasing points, it really changed my whole mindset of the world of points and miles. It changes the math. There is a cap, which also needs to be considered. That's true. Now, if you're operating in 2-player mode, there's less of a cap. If you have children that are old enough to get credit cards, or I wonder, can a 16-year-old open a Hilton Honors account? Does anyone know? That changes the situation as well. I also have like my elderly parents who would have no problem opening a Hilton account in their name. Well, they actually already have them, but if I needed to buy more than the cap, what is the cap? 500,000 a year, I think. More than 1 million. Me and the wife did that, and then I needed more. They sure wouldn't mind. So if you have other people that are willing to play along, or at least let you borrow their social security number, or name and date of birth, that could work. New Again has arrived. What up, people? What percentage of those modified no lifetime language Amex links lead to shutdown? That is always a concern, especially after hearing Amex shutdowns related to flus and that kind of stuff recently. Flus, however you pronounce it. You don't want to mess around with Amex. Don't mess around with Amex. Chris Sevi asks, does the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve trigger real-time rewards when buying points with any program? Not that I know of, because most places sell their points through points.com, which does not code as travel. It just codes as everything else. So there's none that I'm aware of, but if anyone out there is aware, by all means, please speak up and let us know. I'd like to know also. Luke says, I've never heard of an NLL leading to a shutdown. I don't know either. I've done it before. Once every year or two. I can't imagine that would be a big issue, but do your own research and take your own risk. If I saw the no lifetime language, $500,000 on a surpass and a free night certificate, I would do it. Luke lets me know that Avianca Life Miles codes as travel. They sell their own points. That would be good to know. Maybe points.com codes as online merchants on an Amex Blue card. Amex Blue card. I'm not sure what you're referencing with Amex Blue card. I know, like the Hilton Surpass, you get 1 extra Hilton point on online purchases. Is there some grandfathered card that I'm not real familiar with? Let's go ahead and shift gears now. You can keep asking questions and I'll come back to them. I'm sitting in a very relaxed pose right now, which is why I look a lot shorter on camera. Space Code does remind us all that real-time rewards needs to be a U.S. Bank MCC code. I'm guessing Avianca is through Colombia or Venezuela or Peru or whatever country it is that issues them. What country does Avianca belong to? Let me know. All right. Every Friday, I put a picture online, and the picture online does a couple different things. First of all, it reminds you to put a question so that I can answer it on this live stream. And here's what the current picture looks like. Well, there's some guy that kind of looks like me wearing an Iowa State shirt. There's some water in the background. There's this weird pyramid-shaped thing that's got like metal on the edges and glass panels on the inside. What is that? So that's the picture where you're supposed to guess where it was taken. So I'm going to read through any guesses, and I'm also going to answer the community questions. So both Luke and New Again did, in fact, confirm that Avianca is based out of Colombia. All right. Let me... I was just thinking... Sometime, I'm not going to do any of my public-facing videos, but if there's a Diehards Only video or a live stream for Diehards Only, ask me what my connection to the country of Colombia is. That sounded bad. That makes it sound like I'm a drug lord or something. That's not it, I promise. It's just an interesting trivia thing. All right. So... I apologize. Last night, I didn't post my community tab questions till about 7:45 p.m. Usually I try to get it between 5 and 7, so I think some people might have missed it, and I apologize for that. So first, I'll go to the guesses about the picture and what's in the picture. Somebody said teeny tiny pyramid. Well, it is kind of shaped like a pyramid, but it's not intended to be a pyramid. And somebody else said... All right, this was TH. Last I knew, TH was on board. TH Points Paradise says the picture location is the southern boundary stone of the District of Columbia at Jones Point Park in Alexandria, Virginia. And I was like, how did you get that? But yes, that is correct. I guess a lot of people know that my family went to Washington, D.C. last summer, so maybe they surmise it was something to do with that. Or I don't know. Maybe some people have the ability to take a screen capture and run it through Google and compare it to a lot of stuff. So what is the significance of Jones Point Park's boundary stone? I'm going to get nerdy here for just a few seconds, but please bear with me. There'll be more points and miles, but I love the intersection of geography, points, and miles. So here's an old-timey map of the District of Columbia, and you might notice something about it. So the District of Columbia is a diamond shape, and it goes off the screen. Here's Washington, D.C. above the Potomac River, and here's Washington, D.C. below the Potomac River. You might think, Doug, I've been to D.C. There's no D.C. on the Virginia side. Well, did you know there used to be? When DC was incorporated around the founding of America in the late 1700s, DC went into Virginia. And later in the 1840s or 50s, prior to the Civil War, they did what's called a retrocession, where they gave this portion of DC, south of the Potomac River, back to the state of Virginia. Now, if you can imagine these two lines here coming together at a point just south of the screen, that's where we are. So I'm going to share a different screen here. I'm going to share Google Maps of Washington, D.C. And if we kind of zoom in a little bit here, it's kind of hard to see, but there's dotted lines here. So if you think of a giant diamond shape, how did I get that to appear? I want to type in Washington, D.C. and make the boundary lines appear again. So if we think of this as a giant diamond, a piece of the diamond here in the bottom left corner is cut off. But just pretend that this part keeps going to about here and comes over here. Now, actually, somewhere over here in the suburbs of Arlington or Alexandria is a park with a random boundary marker in it. So what we're talking about today is the boundary marker right here, the southernmost point of Washington, D.C., and it's almost in the river. It's almost in the Potomac, but it's right here at Jones Point. There's a boundary marker right here in front of this old historic lighthouse. So I'll show you a few more pictures here that TH guessed correctly. So there's a picture of the lighthouse itself. It's not a very nice lighthouse, but it is a lighthouse nonetheless. Here is a placard showing what it's like. And there is a stone in a cage underneath the foundation of the lighthouse. It looks, that's the west one. There's the others. It looks kind of like this, but over time, the land around the edge of the river grew up. So it's underground. Now, if you go down by the side of the lighthouse foundation, it's really overgrown with weeds and stuff. But if you look down through this cage, there's a stone in there. And then remember in my picture from earlier how it looks like there's glass around this pyramid thing. You can look down through the glass at the boundary stone, and that's what it looks like down through the glass. So there's an old rock that at one time had writing on it. Now it's so faded you can't see anything, but you can see here how back in the day it had writing on it, kind of like this. So thank you for tolerating my nerdiness, folks. So that was the original boundary zone for the District of Columbia. The other interesting thing is if you kind of look at where the modern boundary is, because this was all retroceded back to Virginia, Washington, D.C. has control of the entire Potomac River. Most state boundaries, it's in the middle of the river, not here. Washington, D.C. gets full control. So in theory, the line would come in here originally, cross over a little bit of land. This little sliver of land would be in Maryland, and they actually have stones lined up along the original path. Now it's all Virginia. But in theory, the way the river works is if you step into the river over here, just even 2 steps into the river, you are now in Maryland. So when we were in Virginia, my boys waded out into the river just so they could say they've been in the state of Maryland. They'd never been in Maryland before, and I encouraged them to do that. Now they can say the only state they've been in where they're standing in water and nothing but standing in water is Maryland. Thank you for bearing with my nerdiness, folks. All right, let's get over here. First of all, we have some action going on over here. TH drops a $2 super chat to celebrate the fact that he guessed the location of the southernmost Jones Point boundary stone for Washington, D.C. correctly. Celebrate, celebrate. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And then K-Man has become a member. Imagine a world without something. That reminds me of what the Augusta National Golf Club, the Masters logo looks like a little bit. And then Spathco says, great live this morning. Thank you, Spathco. I appreciate your $2 super chat. Celebrate, celebrate. Did I celebrate K-Man? Celebrate, celebrate being a new member. He says, no, Ohio. That's okay. Imagine a world without Ohio. Oh, let me look at the picture here. Oh, yeah, there. It kind of looks like Canada dips down into America. That's a good point. Thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to do my community tab questions. Then I'll catch up on the other points of the live. TH also asked this question. Do you have any American airline cards in your 2025 roadmap? I do not, but thank you for asking. I've thought about doing a video for a long time now called something like why I don't have why I have very few cards that are proprietary cards, like proprietary hotel cards, but even more so proprietary airline cards. And it has to do with my travel style being an intermittent traveler 5 to 7 times a year. It's hard for me to rack up patterns. And then with airlines, especially, let's say you get an upgrade 1 out of every 5 times. If I fly 5 times on American in a year and I don't get any upgrades, you know how ticked off I'm going to be? I'm only interested in status if it gets me guaranteed benefits. That's why I like Hilton so much, is I know for sure I'm going to get some sort of food and beverage and or free breakfast credit when I go to a Hilton. With IHG, I've had some success, but not infinite success. They didn't give me free breakfast at the Intercontinental, and that was expensive right here in Washington, D.C. So not planning on picking up any American cards. Again, there's a point where if they offered 500,000 American points after your first purchase, I would. I got the Hawaiian card for my wife. It was just kind of a one and done scenario because I'm trying to merge that with my use of Amex points temporarily, but that's a temporary thing. So no plans to get any American Airlines cards or any other airline cards between now and the rest of the year. But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Scott 1727, I think that's Scott Saul, asked this question, and if I'm wrong, let me know. At what point would you take a flexible currency averaging 2.5x on $15,000 of spend that can also be cashed out as penny points when not traveling versus spending 15,000 points on your Hilton Surpass to get around 60,000 points and using the free night certificate on an 80K room, which would be about a 4.6% return on spend? I'm trying to decide how much one night at Hilton is truly worth. Thank you for the question, Scott. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by worth it. So I'm going to take kind of an educated guess here, and I'm going to use a real life example. So real life example time, this is what I'm working through right now. When my family goes to Europe this coming summer, we're going to finish off our stay with 3 days in Vienna, Austria. This is where I'm planning to stay, the Hilton Park Vienna. So it's a Hilton brand Hilton. So you know how Hilton has like Conrad's and Hampton Inns and Embassy Suites. So this is a Hilton branded Hilton. It's just Hilton. And that's a sweet spot that seems to work pretty good for my family when we're traveling. We did that in London and had a really good experience. It's not the highest high end where I'm going to be using truckloads of points. It's not the lowest. It's not a Hampton Inn. It's kind of in that nice meaty middle. I would think of it kind of like a DoubleTree, maybe a little nicer than a DoubleTree. And this is what it looks like. It's that big white building right there. It's got the words Hilton on top. It's kind of hard to see. And it's right next to a park, which is why it's called the Park Hilton. Not to be confused with the Park Hyatt, because it's literally right next to a park. And in terms of the cash rate on this, it comes out to, if you look here, per room, 945 euros for a 3-night stay per room. Now, if we go over here and use XE to convert that from euros to American dollars, let me zoom in a little better here. There we go. The 945 euros becomes $981, and that's for 3 nights. So this is $327 per night. And to me, that's probably right in the sweet spot of what I would use for a high-end Hilton for me. Now, I certainly know if you go to the Maldives or you go to a really expensive Hilton that's more of a resort, that doesn't really fit our travel style. I want to be kind of in more of a downtowny area or like way out in the countryside. Just a beach in Florida or in Majorca that doesn't appeal to me as much. This is not code as a resort. So I feel like that $327, we can maybe round that off to $325, is probably about what I would get normally. This is the one where I'm planning to book it with points ultimately, but I also went out and checked the cash rates because I just wanted to know what they were, because it's important to do all your math. Hey, I've still got 80 people on board. Thank you so much, folks. So worth itness of that free night certificate. So just for the sake of illustration, I'm going to say $325. So let's grab a calculator now and say I spend $15,000 on my Hilton Surpass card, and I'll go with what you said. I average 4x per purchase. You've got 3x and everything else. You've got some categories like grocery and dining at 6x. Let's average that out. So I'm going to get 4 points per dollar, and just like you said, that's going to be 60,000 Hilton points. On the redemption side, I value Hilton points at 0.7 of a cent per point. And if you're using a 5th night free, 1 cent per point. But we need to use the purchase rate. Since we know we can buy Hilton points, it would be silly to value at them at anything other than 0.5 cent per point. So I'm going to take those 60,000 points and I'm going to do 0.005, and that's $300. So I've got $300 in my Hilton points. I've got $325 in my free night certificate, and we're talking $625. If I divide that into $15,000 of spend, that is 4.16 cents per point. See how fun math can be, folks? 4.16 cents per point. So the question is, at what point is it worth it? So I'm going to assume you mean like, how much do I really value getting these Hilton points at instead of just using cash back? I have made a general rule of thumb that cashback has to beat a transferable currency like Amex or Chase or Wells Fargo by at least 1% when comparing percent with X's to make it worthwhile. So for example, if my choice was 3x Chase points or 4% cash back, I would view those things as equal. If it was 3 Chase points or 5% cash back, then I would say the cash back is greater. So how much would I value a flexible currency at? I feel like I have to knock this down a little bit because it's locked into Hilton. And yes, I can get a lot of value out of Hilton. I think I would rather just earn 3x transferable points on everything, honestly, because if you think about it, you can have 60,000 Hilton points, which if we cut that in half, because Hilton points are usually worth about half of what an Amex points is, that's around 30,000 worth of points and 1 free night. So would I rather have 30,000 points and 1 free night, or would I rather have 45,000 Chase points? That's about even in my mind. But if you put a gun to my head and force me to make a decision, I would probably say I would rather just use the transferable currency. But thank you for asking that question. Now, I don't mind, if there's a 30% transfer bonus or something like that, transferring Hilton points over. Yeah. With 45,000 transferable points, I could also take that. My family just got really loud. I don't know if you can hear that, folks. I could also take that 45,000 points, cash it out for $450, and walk away with 90,000 Hilton points. So 90,000 Hilton points or 60,000 Hilton points and a free night certificate. I'd say those things are about even. So I would give a slight hat tip to the transferable currency at 3x. So anything that's equal to or greater than 3x, I'm not going to do the Hilton strategy. So I think I've just talked myself into not going for the FNC on my Hilton Surpass this year. What do you guys think? All right, I'm going to catch up on the rest of my comments. I'm still really impressed. We've got 80 people on board. Thank you so much, folks. Ron Byrne asked this question. If you won the lottery, what car would you get to replace the Kia? So right now I own a Kia Soul. That's my everyday driver. I'm going to disappoint you a lot here, Ron. I'm not like a car guy, and I really like my Kia Soul. It's a 2013. It handles well. I like the way it feels. I fit in the console just right. I would just fix up my 2013 Kia Soul and keep it if I won the lottery. I would, replace the shuts, the strocks. I just had a small stroke. I would replace the shocks and the struts. I would have somebody, give it top-notch tune-up and just keep it. There's a dent in the passenger side door too. I would get that fixed. I think that's it for my community tab questions. No, there was one anonymous question I need to find here. Shoot, where did it go? Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry, this is just dead air. I apologize. This is weird. Why am I not finding it? Can any of you go to my community tab, find the picture of me standing at the pyramid and help me out? And then there was an anonymous question I posted on my own thing and pasted into the chat here. It was about like some new card that Hyatt theoretically offered that got you globalist status. Would you do it? All right, I'm going to catch up on all the comments here. Let's see. Clairvoyant says, my US Bank numbers are too low. Pump those numbers up, rookie. Well, there's always opportunity costs, like we talked about today, to put on other things. JP says, sorry, I missed the live. We'll have to watch the playback. If you don't get a retention offer, will you keep the US Bank Altitude Reserve? And if so, how are you justifying it? That is a really good question, and I'm going to have a whole separate video coming out about my retention calls. So if you're willing to be patient. QC Man says, sure, Dugroz, you're definitely not a drug lord. Wink, wink. My connection to Colombia. New Again says, I justify US Bank Altitude Reserve as $75 after very easy credits, not even counting Priority Pass restaurants. A lot of places take Apple Pay, redeem for rental cars and Uber ride experiences. Yep, it's worth it. If you can get a retention offer of at least 5,000 points, then it functionally becomes a no annual fee card because 5,000 points is worth $75 in travel, and then you get 8 free Priority Pass restaurant visits. Another way thinking of it is like, I think the Priority Pass restaurant maximum is like $28 per meal. So if you divide that into 75, that's 2.6. We'll round that up to 3. If you use 3 Priority Pass restaurants in a year that you would pay cash for, now you've also broken even. So it's not hard to justify. Admittedly, it does have a cap on how much you can succeed with it. You're never going to get more than 1.5 cents per point, but the simplicity is great. JP says, that isn't to say I think US Bank is a bad, Altitude Reserve is a bad card, but for someone who puts spend on a variety of cards, I'm curious how you make up the annual fee on that card. I think I just gave that away, but I'll also mentioned that in my video. That's a good question. And I've said a couple times recently, I'm not disparaging the US Bank Altitude Reserve. Don't think it's not on my favorites list anymore. But its usefulness to me has waned a little over time as I learn other tricks. Like, you know, let's say I'm going to a restaurant and they have tap to pay. Would I rather have 3x Capital One points, 3x Chase points, or 3% on my US Bank Altitude Reserve, which I turn into 4.5% back on miscellaneous travel? Probably rather have the transferable currency. Chris Sevi says, I bought a kitchen and carpet with the US Bank Altitude Reserve, vet bills, farmer market, swap meets, many businesses except Apple Pay. Venture X does much of the same, probably an either or choice. Yes, that's a good point. And if possible, it's not always possible, you want to use your Venture X on things that you normally can't get 3X on. So like gas, groceries, dining, you can always get 3X elsewhere. An example was yesterday I got a haircut. What do you think? Haircut, beard trim. You might remember last week I looked pretty shaggy, and they had tap to pay. So I used my Apple Pay with my Altitude Reserve there at Great Clips. Yeah, look at that. Look at that salt and pepper in my beard. I'm becoming an old man. Then again, some people go gray in their 20s, so I don't have a lot to complain about because I don't know of any card that gives you more than, you know, your standard 2X everywhere on hair salons and barbershops. Well, actually, maybe I do know of one. Calling Matt Clausen. Where was I? Also said I found that some portals code as travel on US Bank Altitude Reserve. Oh, which ones are you thinking of? Like Travelocity? And hotel cards are super endgame, except Hilton's. Airline cards for the sub, though free check bag is clutch if you travel with recreational equipment. Yeah, if I was a golfer and I flew to Arizona to play golf, that would be clutch. Or a bicycle or a pet. Spaceco says Apple Pay online is a cheat code for the altitude reserve. Once you can get 4.5 guaranteed almost anywhere over your next best earning cards, it's not hard to earn well past the $75 net annual fee. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Now that I have a MacBook, I've found it even more helpful because I'm kind of an old school 80s and 90s guy. You know, I played a lot of Oregon Trail and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. So I prefer to do my online shopping on an actual laptop or desktop, not my phone. And now that I have Apple Pay on my MacBook, I can just hold my finger or thumb over the top right hand corner button that reads my fingerprint. And if you go over to Safari, that's the Apple web browser. Sorry, I'm new to Apple, although I'm very old with Apple, and I took 20 years off and came back. If you go over to Safari, there's lots and lots of websites where you can use Apple Pay for various things. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I bought this calendar on Etsy. Etsy had a tap to pay option or an Apple Pay option. Luke says, I feel like the 0.5 cent value because you can buy them for might be flawed. Reason being it's capped. What do we value them after we've maxed out? What would those values be different? That's a really good point. And the value would be different. Let's just say hypothetically, Luke, that somebody wanted to redeem like 2 million Hilton points on some sort of mega redemption. You might be maxed out. In my case, I've got me, wife, mom, dad, and confirm for me what the maximum amount you're allowed to purchase in a year is. I think it's $500,000, but I could be wrong. Then it would be different. Yeah. And like I said, I use one value for checking my redemptions and a different value for buying in. And you have to be really careful with how you handle that. The cap for me is very low. I can't buy 1 million points or even half of that. Well, then it must be under $500,000. I apologize. Maybe it's $250,000. $300 for a Hilton free night hurts my heart. I get what you're saying. But I don't ever want to change my travel style just to use an FNC. That seems, I don't want to use money out of pocket to redeem an FNC. So let's just say, I don't know, hypothetically, there was a convention where we talked about dead presidents in Dallas, Texas, and I used Chase Miles on British to book a flight round trip to Dallas, go to the dead president's convention, and use my free night certificate to stay at a Dallas Hilton and got like $750 worth of value, and it was awesome. But the convention kind of sucked, and I didn't really like it, and I wasn't going to go anyway. Then I'm just wasting points on something I didn't really like, whereas I could go to upstate New York, drive around, look at presidential graves, and get a Hampton Inn, and that is something I would have done anyway, even if I wasn't into points and miles. Points and miles lets me do A, more of it, and B, things that I wouldn't normally be able to do. So I want to hold that loosely. However, when we go to Europe this summer, we are transiting through New York City on the way there and Washington, D.C. on the way back. So a one-night stay at a Hilton might be in order. Does anybody have any recommendations for a Hilton that would fit the bill well? We won't be in Manhattan. We'll be out on Long Island. And I apologize, I'm not from New York, so Long Island might be the wrong thing to say. The physical Long Island, I think it's called Queens. Fly into LaGuardia, transit down to JFK. What would be a good Hilton for a family of 4, mom, dad, 2 teenage boys to stay in that might fit well with a free night certificate? We don't want to drive into Manhattan. There's one on Roosevelt Island that's a little further away that I might stay out just because it sounds really cool to stay on Roosevelt Island. Manuel Jimenez says, good morning, everyone, or good day. Settling in my Alaska Airlines seat headed to Miami from Sacramento via Portland. Awesome. I think we're still talking about buying. We've got to double that at least. Got to double a $300 Hilton night. Rodrigo says, what would the new Citi premium card have to make you want to stay with Citi? That's a really good idea, Rodrigo. Write that down. Okay. How can Citi keep me renew card? See, I literally wrote it down. How can Citi keep me regarding the new card? My penmanship is not great. Maybe I'll do a whole video on that, but I'll just throw out a few ideas here. Bring back a 1.25x portal option. I may not use it a lot, but it's kind of ridiculous that it doesn't exist anymore. 1.5x would be even better. You should have a way of getting better than 1.0 cents per point on those Citi points without having to use transfer partners. It should be some sort of option. Now, if they really wanted to keep me, they could implement some sort of travel eraser or pay yourself back, like Aeroplan, like Capital One, but at an enhanced earning rate. I think, again, 1.25, 1.3 is kind of that sweet spot. So if they want to do that, they could keep me. Priority pass access that includes the restaurants. I don't know if that's even possible, but if they could somehow swing that, they might be able to keep me. Adding Aeroplan, I think they don't have Aeroplan, correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't hurt, although that's not a deal breaker. And then have reasonable and easy to use credits, like do a credit similar to the Sapphire Reserve where I just use it and get it. I don't have to do piecemeal or doled out things. So basically what I want you to do is take the best of the US Bank Altitude Reserve with something like Pay Yourself Back and the Chase Sapphire Reserve and merge them together with a good Priority Pass card, restaurant visits, and a not outrageous annual fee. If it was $450, $500, that'd probably be okay. And you give me $300, $350 worth of travel credits. Maybe you could win me over. Okay, here it is. TH found it. Anonymous asked, I think I pasted that wrong. Anonymous asked this. Let's say Hyatt came out with a credit card, no sign-up bonus, no earnings. The only feature on the card is that if you spend $40,000 in a calendar year on the card, you automatically get globalist status for the rest of the calendar year and all of the following calendar year. Would you do it? Thank you, TH. You get 5,000 Dugroz points. And I think you were also the one who guessed the location of the tiny pyramid correctly. Am I thinking of that correctly? So you get another 5,000 Dugroz from that. So you get 10,000 total. Good job. Yeah, 10,000 Dugroz points today. Not too shabby. What is that line? Is it from Toy Story where the guy who's played by Newman offers to buy Woody for $50 and Pig's up there in the window looking at it? He's like, $50 ain't bad. 10,000 Dugroz points ain't bad, although they don't help you buy anything. Maybe someday they will. All right, let's answer this question. Let's say there's a Hyatt credit card and you don't earn any points on it, but if you spend $40,000 in a calendar year, you automatically get globalist and get to keep it for the rest of that calendar year and the next of the following year. Well, to decide if I would do it or not, I think first I have to think of the opportunity cost and what I'm giving up. Obviously, I'm probably going to put a lot of that $40,000 towards sign-up bonuses, so I don't think it trips my trigger enough. But let's do the math anyway. At a bare minimum, I should be making 2 points per dollar on that 40,000 to spend, so I'm getting 80,000 something points. So even if I'm cashing out at a penny per point, that would be $800. Now, I can get a lot of travel out of $800. What does Globalist get me? Well, it gets me free meals at Hyatt restaurants, and I think that's for two. So what would that be? My wife is not a big spender on breakfast, but she likes breakfast. But then again, sometimes you pay like $5 for an orange juice. So I could imagine breakfast for two very, very easily costing us $50. So let's say I stay at a Hyatt 6 times a year. That's probably about realistic for me. That's $300. Okay. And then I get free parking and I use free valet parking 4 times in a year. Not all of my Hyatt stays, but most of them. And that's what, $25 each. So that'd be 4 times $25. That's another $100. What else do I get for Globalist? I get a guaranteed late checkout. I don't know if JP Knowledge is still here. He can tell me any benefits that I'm missing on what it's like. Yeah, so now we're up to $400 worth of value. Let's say I value the late checkout at $150. So $550. I've gotten $550 out of value on something I gave up an opportunity cost of $800 for. So no, that's not worth it to me. Now, somebody who travels for work and stays in Hyatt's 100 nights a year, yeah, I would totally do that to get Globalist. I'd get so much free breakfast and so much pampering. I would basically look for Hyatt's at all costs. So that would be interesting. I wonder if any issuer would ever come out with a card that is like, you don't earn any points. You just hit a big spend bonus. You get this certain perk. New Again said no. TH said hard no. Spaceco says, Luke, you can transfer and pool Hilton points, though. So with your number of players, ... And Spaceco says, very true, but we're going to have a finite amount of points. So I'm working on collecting 2 million right now. JP says, this isn't me attempt to sound rude, so it doesn't come across this way, but how often are you using Priority Pass restaurants? I feel the people who use it hard, everyone else never does. That's a point worth asking. I used it once all by myself in St. Louis about 2 years ago at a restaurant. Got, I don't know, $15, $20 worth of value out of that. And then in Washington, D.C., we milked it for all it was worth. I used 8 visits on one trip, family of 4, once outbound, once inbound. So I used all 8 in one setting. Now, technically, I used 6 from the Altitude Reserve and 2 from the Chase Sapphire Reserve before they expired in July of last year. So I keep thinking to myself, I'm going to do it again. But I also told the story that Party Pass restaurant went out of business like 2 weeks after I ate there, probably because my family milked it for all it's worth. So I don't know. Maybe that's not that big a deal. You're right, JP. I need to look around and see where they are and that kind of stuff. Don Kim says dysentery was the worst on Oregon Trail. I agree. Scurb has died. Here lies Scurb. Scurb hit the curb. I named one of my characters Scurb, S-C-U-R-B, every time. I don't know why, because I wanted to say Scurb hit the curb. I thought it was hilarious. JP says, I personally have never been to a Priority Pass restaurant. People went crazy when the 2 Venture X and CSR lost the restaurants, yet these same people never went to one in their whole life. That's funny. New Again says, Doug, what did you value that Hilton FNC at? 325 seems low. Again, I'm trying to emphasize this is how I would probably use it without changing my behavior. JP says that's true and hilarious. Doug, if there are 2 Hilton right next door and one is $300 and one is $1,300, you're turning right around and going to the $300 one? Well, no. But I tell you what I'm not going to do if I'm staying at the Park Hilton in Vienna and there's a Conrad right next door. I'm not going to say, well, see you boys. The wife and I, Mom and I are going to go over and spend one night at the Conrad and leave you here. And then we're going to come and do our other 2 nights at the park. Yeah, my family dislikes changing locations strongly. So, yeah. Each costs 1 cert. I love it that the only 2 creators I sub to are always conversing. Interesting. Is that me and Luke or me and JP or me and someone else? No, me, Luke. Oh, that's probably answering this. Yeah. And if you're a solo traveler or just traveling with you and your wife and you're doing short trips, I'd feel like Luke. I know Luke says he takes lots of short trips, so that makes sense. Cesar likes Citi, thinks it's underrated. Citi's going to wreck AA's best in business points value, though. If they end up transferring, who knows? 15 cows spent for a $300 redemption. Damn. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't do it. Ian says, you can buy Globalist for each stay for way less than spending $40K, not for me. How much can you buy it for? Are you talking like actually through Hyatt or like go out on eBay and find one or hit up your friend and say, hey, I'll give you $50? D Green, don't think we've met. D, how you doing? Says this, on my wish list for the Citi Premium card is AA lounge access. There's like 3 in my home airport, so I'd apply immediately. Oh, that would be good. That might be a game changer too. Cesar says, new again. So is it better that no one's able to transfer points to AA? I'd rather have the option than not. I'm with Cesar here, even if it devalues it right now. I don't use AA hardly at all. because there's no easy way to rack up lots of points through subs or hackability. I realize they have portals. I realize I can get AA cards, but then I'm giving up my transferable currency spend, and I don't want to do that. Rodrigo asked, what if they became like Delta miles? Now, if you're someone like Rewards Master who gets a lot of value out of AA miles and has other ways to earn them, that's different. QC man, I feel like the math on the Hyatt card wouldn't work out for the global's benefit unless you did the JP knowledge of experiment of staying at Hyatt for an entire year. So it's noon Central Time on the first Saturday of the month. And here in Central Iowa, we have our tornado alarm test every Saturday at noon on the first Saturday of the month. So if you hear a tornado alarm going off, that's why. New Again likes having AA have 2 issuers and floating bank loyalty programs, playing hard to get. For some people, that can be great. Cesar is with me and says, still better than not having the option. For me, it would be better to have a Citi transfer partner, but I know that's not the case for everyone. Tweet says, I'm asking too much there. Haha. I probably am, which means I'm probably leaving Citi at some point. I just have not gotten to a place where Citi fits without knocking something else out. So it's not that just that you'd have to prove to me that Citi is good. You'd have to prove to me that it's better than Amex, Chase, or Wells in terms of a regular driver use case. Luke says, I wouldn't use the Priority Pass restaurants. I'm not sitting with the riffraff. In DCA, Washington Reagan, that's all they had. At the time, they didn't have a Priority Pass lounge. I don't think they still do. Unk is high class. That's true. Luke, have you been to a Centurion or Venture X lounge lately? Serious riffraff. You and Luke are the 2 guys subscribed to. Interesting, they're always debating's not the right word, but contrasting each other. I like that too. I like contrast. That's how you learn stuff. We're going a little long here, so I'm going to skip over some of these. I apologize, Cesar, unless they're like spot on. QC Man says, I used to use the Priority Pass restaurant JFK, but sadly that restaurant closed down with the Terminal 8 renovations, and there's no word on reopening. Ian says you can buy Globalist for 1 stay for $50. That's probably like buying a guest of honor. Rodrigo says, some people would say it's not super hard to rack up AA miles because their shopping portal is one of the best in the game. Agree, but to me, it doesn't seem as hackable as some of my other tricks like creative gift card buying, but maybe I'll change my mind someday. Luke says there is 0 indication Citi can or could devalue AA miles. That's just negative thinking. We know how this game is. AA is going to devalue their points in 18 to 24 months after the deal, maybe sooner. I'm just going to be sitting here in the corner eating my popcorn, laughing while not using Citi. How about that? Riffraff EH. Hey, how you doing, Riffraff? I'm heading down to the Centurion Lounge in 30 minutes in Denver. LMAO. Did you set up the username just to have this particular response? I am Riffraff. I don't want to sit in the lounge with the Riffraff. Uh-oh. There is the riffraff. Hey, I think we're done here. Let's review who gave a super chat or became a member or celebrates their anniversary, and then we'll end the stream here. Last chance to drop a super chat. It would mean a lot to me. Helps my channel grow. Helps me have the incentive to keep going here. Tom Graber came in strong with $5. John R. came in with $2. Ian Mascal celebrated his 4-month anniversary. QC Man dropped $1.99, and then later dropped no, I said that wrong. QC Man dropped $1.99. TH came in with $2. K Man 2324 became a member. That's the equivalent of $3. And Spaithco dropped $2. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, we're going to go ahead and shut her down here then. And maybe some other time we'll talk about the devaluation drama. Oh, hey, QC Man dropped 1 more for the road, another $1.99. Celebrate. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, QC Man, and everyone else. One last chance to hit the like button. That way, when people watch it later, it's more likely to pop up. I really appreciate it. As always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.